Here we go now. 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 now. Here we go 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 now. go now. Here we 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 go now.
Hello and welcome to the final day, day number 6 of PUBG Mobile Club Open. The perfect turn of events is what the 5 previous days has been, but now today in the final day of the semi-final, things are going to get heated up. Of course, it is a huge thanks to Oppo F19 Pro for making this all happen. Hashtag hook up your fun, alongside which our official media partners Nemo.tv. With that, I'm going to be your host, caster analyst Blotto, and joining me of course is going to be none other than Ankit once again to take us through these games. It is going to be a tricky affair for Group B and D today. Okay?
Exactly. I mean, you say Group B and D, we talk about bad intentions and teams like TRZ. I mean, till now they have really showed what they are made up of, but since it is going to be the last day, they will be throwing everything in this last stage of the game, because at the end of the day we have seen all the 12 matches being played for A and C, and today they will be locking horns. They here implies for B and D, and after this the top, obviously the 11 will be progressing for the next.
Exactly, that is where the stakes couldn't have gotten any higher, and in that, of course, as we just discussed, this is Group B and D playing today, day number 6 in the semi-finals, after which, of course, the teams, as Ankit perfectly mentioned, 11 teams, the top 11 teams at the end of the day will be moving on forth into the regional finals itself, and of course, that is where the stakes are going to get that much more higher, because the team that will be at the top of the chart in the finals itself will be qualifying for PMPL Season 4. But that is a conversation for another time, because right now we are still in the part of the semi-finals, and in the semi-finals itself things are looking really good, because we've got some really destructive teams, and as Ankit did just mention a couple of those names, we do have TRZ Esports, Bad Intentions chiming in along with those kill points. Again and again, consistent play is what has been showcased from these teams.
Exactly, and this consistency comes with that that point structure that we got to see 15, 12 and 10 points getting separated with the team getting the #1, #2 and #3 in a match. But talking about the group that will be a part of today's gameplay, I mean, talk about PX Esports, talk about teams like MARTYRS 1971, Oxygen Rising Star, TREX Power. I mean, PX Esports, last time they were looking so dominant in predominant way. They were trying to decimate the lobby. It was a complete annihilation that they brought. So, and just imagine the amount of intensity that has been already built up, because already it is big names, big teams like TRZ Esports, Bad Intentions, and somewhere down the line, if you remember, TREX Skeleton was also one team that really had a good performance.
Absolutely did, and in that conversation they did bring in a lot of amazing, or did end up giving a lot of amazing blows to their competition. But today, as we move the conversation on forward, it is going to be tough luck sort of situation with where these groups are and the teams are going to be finding themselves in. And of course, we will have the standard setup for the schedule itself, where we start things off on Erangel, move on towards Miramar, and then Sanhok, and finally to close the day off, it will be Erangel once again. So a lot on the line, but eventually, of course, it is going to be their known gameplay that these teams, of course, should focus on, and right now should not really be focused on anything else but just bringing in that synergistic play that they have been doing as of now. With that, we've got Bad Intentions right here with this, the 8 games that they have played with 132 points, exactly the same amount of points that Limit Over have been able to accumulate for themselves in the 12 games. So Bad Intentions right there, you can clearly see that the kind of journey that Bad Intentions have had in the 8 games has been phenomenal, and same again can be said for TRZ Esports.
Exactly, as you talk about TRZ, 8 matches, 114 points, and they really have a good day today. If they will be making it more look happen, it will be one good thing that we need to talk about. But moving on to the second half of the chart, PX Esports. Now this team was really playing phenomenally well, and they got those chicken. I mean, talk about that, the back-to-back chicken in the game of Sanhok. And obviously Erangel on the day 4 of the semi-finals, and because of that they have actually stepped up their performance, and 42 points have been completely distributed in terms of placement and kill points, making a total of 84. But at the end of the day, you need to be in top 11, so they really need to work hard. I mean, the consistency needs to be here at this end day of this semi-finals.
Absolutely, and with that, the third page, this is where the contestations are going to be brought on forth, because after all, when it comes to the points that we saw from the 16th position onwards, 16, 15, 14, they're looking very, very close with 59, 57, 60 points. And so again, just that 1 point difference is where these teams are going to be. And TREX right now have a lot working for them. If they play these 4 games perfectly, then of course they should be able to accumulate enough points to find themselves in the top 16. But that is not where the journey ends, because yes, those teams are close, so that means there will be quite a lot of ups and downs towards those positions, but eventually only top 11 move on forth. So the grind is on for these teams.
The grind is on. The grind is on, as we just got to see. And obviously the day before yesterday's gameplay, where the teams were actually looking phenomenally well. Yesterday's game was also one good game to talk about, where Phantom U4UI was also just striding forward, coming out of all their leaps and blues, and then it was an all easy affair for them. But for the moment, it is going to be the head-to-head between 2 big Goliaths that were really looking to make their show steal away, and in that doing so, it is going to be Bad Intention, the team that has been overpassed by Gremlin Storm in terms of total points. But Bad Intentions have 4 games back-to-back. Erangel, Miramar, Sanhok, Erangel. How far are they going to be making a leap, or they will be stopped upon, because on the other hand side, it is going to be TRZ Esports.
Absolutely, and along with that, the X-Factor team for the day, the team to watch out for when it comes down to the 4 games. Of course, these 2 teams find themselves in the top 8, but along with that, it is going to be PX Esports, a team that Ankit did mention we had a wonderful fray on, because this team just annihilated the competition and moved all the way from the final page of the leaderboard into a perfect spot for themselves. But will they be able to continue with that sort of a journey? Well, we shall have to see. Again, hopefully the cards are going to be working right for this team, but in that competition, we do have TRZ Esports chiming in with the likes of course Mamba and his teammates, alongside which, of course, Bad Intentions. I mean, that team has dominated with just the 8 games, 132 points that they've been able to accumulate, and still 4 games remaining for them. I mean, we saw right there in the head-to-head, in terms of the damage, the team of Bad Intentions have been able to accumulate 13,888 damage dealt out to their competition and to their opponents. That is a lot. That is a lot. It's not easy for a team to be that synergistic and that consistent every single time, but that is what Bad Intentions bring to the table, and that is what the tough luck sort of a situation is going to be from their side. But let's see how the games will progress as we will be jumping on to the first map of Erangel. Of course, do not forget to showcase your love in the chat as well, because these teams have been bringing in some ferocious plays, but today their journey, some of the team's journey actually, is going to be precarious one, so to say, with just that one point. Might end. Yes.
Might end. I mean,
1 point difference. That's really not the.
I mean, that is bound to happen, because
yes,
eventually when the tournament started, there was one written thing: top 11 will be aggressing forward. That means the teams will be getting filtered out of all these ruckus and all these competition. But one thing that remains constant, and that is going to be the grind, as you perfectly mentioned, the experience in playing this lobby. Obviously, this is the club open of this Bangladesh region. So even if the team is going down, just try to resist in your own way. Just try to show the team before you go down that yes, we are there, we are improving day after another day, we are making it happen. And in doing so, certain teams have really made it happen. Talk about Team PX Esports. I mean, the player Chiku, he has been an absolute bulldozer in terms of the performance he has shown. He has been bulldozing the complete lobby, a complete annihilation that was shown when PX Esports was playing their gameplay in terms of their kill department. 8 matches, 20 total kill is what we got to see when the team card was on. But today, if PX Esports have to go upward, it needs that the rest of the 3 players actually need to step up and give assistance and coordinate with Chiku in order to have that more influential gameplay, because they are moving up, but they are still on the position of 10 and 11, where if they do one small mistake, they will slip out.
That is true. That is true. I mean, they find themselves in a very tricky position right there. And again, as I was mentioning earlier as well, that the difference between the points is so very low-key. We are looking at 1 or 2 point difference between moving into the 11th position and above that, or faltering down and not being able to participate in the finals. Now, we've been saying that, yes, top 11 teams by the end of the day will be moving on fourth. But what about the remaining 5? Because after all, when it comes to the final, 16 teams is what we're going to be seeing in the lobby. And for those 5 teams, well, those are invited teams. We've got Venom Legends, we've got, of course, A1 Esports, XP Blood Legion, INES, as well as Black Bulls. So these would be the 5 teams that will join the lobby with the top 11 who will be competing today. Now, in that conversation, it is also going to be a part and of the story card where indeed Bad Intentions are going to try and get themselves at the top of the leaderboard, because they've got 4 wonderful opportunities today based on the schedule that we showcased. And well, in 8 games, if they've been able to get 132 points, we can anticipate that in the 4 games they ought to be able to completely topple over the team that is on the first position for now.
Gremlin Storm, they are coming in. Bad Intentions, they are coming in. And talking about Bad Intentions, because both of us really watched and obviously casted the match of those National Championship Bangladesh region, and Bad Intentions was certainly a team that was looking off color, to be honest. But once they stepped into this, obviously this big tournament of Club Open of Bangladesh region, the team is looking absolutely different. Now, we talk about the players, Winter, Stalker, I mean, each and everyone is just playing to its own merit, and thus resulting, we just saw, as Brother mentioned, that 13,000 damage just in 8 matches. That is just impeccable. That hasn't come with fluke, because they have played 8 matches and they have been consistent enough in order to get that slot. And as Brother perfectly mentioned, 4 matches still left, 4 opportunities. How far the leap is going to be for Bad Intentions? But talking about the leap, I mean, we really need to talk about the team like TRZ Esports. The team is on a real rise. The team is real dominance with what I would say, because Mamba along with Atomic, Rare FPS, I mean, all the 3-4 players have been absolutely phenomenal in terms of their gameplay. We talk about formation, they are also good. If we talk about the gun gameplay, they are also good. And the best part is that they have also got 2 chickens out of the 8 matches.
Absolutely have. And in this entire saga, it is going to be a bit of a tricky affair for the other teams that are part of the lobby to compete against such Goliaths that are going to be playing against them. But along with all of this, we do have TREX in this moment as well that could very well chime in along and bring in some destructive play for themselves. TREX Power has showcased that sort of a skill set, but again, every single day is different. That was one particular day that we saw PX Esports completely rise and shine and take the strides and move on along in every single game to be able to get for themselves. But eventually, as we move on with the day, we can anticipate and hope that today we will be able to see that sort of an onslaught being brought only not from PX Esports, but also from the likes of course TREX and the other teams as well. But again, it's easier said than done, because it is going to be pressure situation that these teams are going to find themselves in, and of course they are going to be representing the fans as well as the region itself, so there's a lot of pressure, a lot of things on the line, but eventually one thing that can be said for sure is I just hope that these teams have some fun in that, and that is going to be the most important thing, to have some fun. Of course there's pressure in every single part of the match, but all you can do now is just bring in the best synergistic play for yourself, bring in that sort of an approach into the game, enjoy yourselves, and of course the best will happen to you. Well, fingers crossed is all you can do for now, because
Indeed.
apart from that, well, the competition is fierce. Yep.
Exactly,
Hugely
as
fierce.
talking about the competition, we have seen some real Goliaths colliding again. To talk about the big teams, as you perfectly mentioned, now the teams that really will be looking to go and topple around will be obviously one team, as you just perfectly mentioned, TREX Power. And also, I would like to add one more team into that same fray. That is going to be Oxygen Rising Star. The teams have been absolutely phenomenal in terms of their comeback, but still the comeback needs to be emulated and repeated on a consistent basis. On
Exactly.
that note, PX Esports have done pretty well, and since other teams need to derive those sort of influence from other teams, if they do so, they will be good to go. But till now, it has been all in all a pretty decent tournament whatsoever, be the time. We talk about the day one where God's Reborn from different group was trying to chime in and trying to decimate Gremlin Storm. In yesterday's gameplay, we saw some good games coming in from the sides of obviously KX, X and Phantom 4 UI, but that was some different group and they really made it happen. And when there was a different group, it was also an opportunity for Gremlin Storm to actually overpower and overpass the point system what Bad Intentions was standing, and since they have overcrossed them, but the difference is what the Bad Intentions can overpower in just one match.
Exactly. If they will be able to bring in that sort of a dominating play, they most certainly will be overtoppling the top of the leaderboard. With that, let's get jumping in this map of Erangel, of course, to get our day started off. This is going to be an exhilarating affair where, when it comes to the teams, well, these teams are certainly going to be reigning in supreme, but it's not going to be easy undertaking because of the Goliaths that are part of this lobby. And as the journey continues, we are looking at a flight path that is starting all the way from Novorupnoy, going northwest towards the side of Zarki, and once again going to be dissecting the map in equal halves to get the battle started for today.
Indeed, the match is on its way. The Erangel, the flight path, the big bird is in the air. That means players will be slowly and steadily, and we just forget to mention about one more team, and that is going to be of TT Archangel. So this is also one team that has really those charming effect when they try to bring in the game. Every time we get to see the fight, there are some players that really find themselves into it. One more team that I'll have my looks upon it, and that is going to be Zap Canavar.
Absolutely, and right now when you talk about the teams that are moving on down towards the military base, of course Archangels are going to be one of those that have moved on towards the Novorupnoy region. On the other tangent, we also do have Fallen 5 Esports making a rotation onto, of course, the military base, along with another team that's going to be very close into the vicinity. That's going to be none other than Final Cut. So we do have 3 teams jumping on to the military base for now, and on the front of the main island itself, we are looking at TRZ going down towards their drop location, their known location, which is going to be of Primorsk. But for now, they are probably going to be happy going down towards the Ferry Pier and the likes as well. And talking about the zone itself, the first circle has been drawn, which is certainly going to be favoring the eastern front of this map.
Indeed, eastern front is where we're getting to head towards to see the fight, which might erupt in a second or so, but already we are getting to see 4 teams into the military base island, and in that 4 teams, one team is with a bizarre of a bizarre split with the Noob, Pain Noob, pretty much close between 2 teams, one in the Novorupnoy area, and that is being acclimated by Archangels, and these sort of circles actually tends to obviously go towards the main island. That means all these teams will be facing an impediment, a challenge, a roadblock if they make a move onto that main island. And what sort of approach will be theirs? I mean, this is a real big question, and this will be really interesting to see. But Georgiapur Island is being completely taken over by the place by obviously Martyrs 1971, and in the same vicinity we can get to see Bad Intentions, each and every player just finding themselves into the same vicinity. Along the side of Jarki, we will getting to see Eccentric Infinity. This is also a team that really started the performance in a very good way, but then somewhere down the line they just lost the momentum.
They did, but again today that momentum can hopefully be picked up, and this is going to be the final opportunity that these teams are going to have, these 4 games today, and this is what will define the teams that will move on forth to the finals itself. For now, we are going to be keeping an eye out towards so many of these teams as they make those rotations, those early contestations, but eventually talking about those contestations themselves, the early fight is not being seen as of now. We do have, of course, all the teams dropping down to a comfortable spot for themselves on the map, and absolutely in their own regard, they are in control of their drop locations. There is no team around in the vicinity for the entirety of the lobby that we can expect an early fight from. But as soon as those rotations are going to get started, that is when things are going to get trickier. And in that, we do have once again TREX Power chiming in with just a 3-man squad, which they have done so previously as well, but nevertheless have been able to perfectly bring themselves in terms of the placement points towards an aggressive stance. But will that be enough for now is what we shall have to see. On the other tangent, it is going to be Fallen 5 Esports, another team that is finding themselves on that third page of the leaderboard, but overall when it comes down to their play style itself, it is a bit of a passive approach that we've seen Fallen 5 Esports take compared to the other teams in the lobby.
Quick rotation is what the team needs, and they are going for the rotation. As soon as they are getting themselves into some different vehicles, they will be making it. For the moment, it is going to be Pain Noob onto the extreme southern side of this military base island. That is a pretty not a decent one, but still far away from where the teams from the sides of FC, that is obviously going to be one team that are in the same vicinity. But as for the moment, each and everyone is in the same vicinity. Bad Intentions on the other hand side, they are also on a move, as Naruto along with one more player is closing towards the northern Georgia Pool apartment, and they are getting a better half of themselves. But some fights we might see to erupt, as now FOF's players are in pretty much closer vicinity, where obviously Oxygen Rising Stars are positions with TRZ's a fanned out approach with Atomic and Mamba into their area, their favorite drop location, that is obviously of a Primorsk and Ferry Pier. It is being completely looted by Mad Cat, and the 6 houses that we get to see along the shorelines area, that is being looted by Mr. Rare. They need to make sure that they are not being charged upon by one team. If they did, or if they will done so, they might be extremed in these positions, and an onslaughter is what I can expect, and that can really dent their chances.
Well, for now, it is looking like not the cause, because it is going to be teams finding themselves in just a comfortable spot, all of them pretty much. There is no team around in the vicinity of these teams that are coming up on our streams one by one. FOF BadBlood. Now, this is a team that we have seen take some aggressive stances and have been able to actually complete and annihilate their competition as well. But will that be enough for them to find themselves in the top 11? It is going to be tough situation, tough conversation for them to be had in these 4 games, because again, when it comes to the lobby, each and every single team is going to be trying to bring in that sort of a playstyle and gameplay, and of course the gun approach is what these teams are going to be hopefully working towards. On the other tangent, when you talk about the entirety of the fights that we've seen from these teams, eventually the teams do end up well, for the first 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, if there are no contestations, they end up playing their low-key game. The entirety of the lobby ends up doing so, till the time the circle starts restricting and constricting them to get against each other and take on a fight against their opponents. We haven't seen them being so very aggressive, apart from the likes of course, the TRZ Esports, Bad Intentions, and of course, then when the circle is restricting and constricting them, they have to take those fights, and that is where those teams like TRZ Mamba, as well as the sides of Bad Intentions, just completely dominate based on the skill set that they have been able to accumulate over the years. But of course, that does not mean that the other teams, for example, the X Factor team that we spoke about today, PX Esports, that does not mean a team like that cannot chime in along and take a complete fight and a game and dominate, because that is what PX Esports did and completely decimated the lobby. But for that conversation to be had, PX Esports need to be synergistic in terms of their rotations and whatnots, and for now, that is going to be the case that MARTYRS 1971 find themselves in, because this team is towards the hospital region with 1400, almost 1500 meters of distance for them to cover right now. It is going to be, well, better get started real quick, because we have only 7.5 minutes into the game. Some of the teams making some early rotations, some of the team still sticking around to their known drop locations and are going to be hoping and working towards sticking to the edge. Right now, we did just see PX Esports making that rotation as well, and on our screens is going to be Oxygen Rising Star getting themselves acclimated with the loot that they can get in these compounds.
Exactly. They are getting the compounds being looted down, and in the same vicinity, in the far-fetched area, we can get to see PX Esports are present. But for the moment, Oxygen Rising Star are pretty much safe with those boundaries coming into their favor. But they need to make sure that they don't just over-aggress, because it's PX Esports, the big name, the aggressive one for the moment, is along the line, and they are just trying to charge in. And if they find themselves any other players in this extreme position, they will be better trying to excavate them and just hurl them into safe corner, resulting them getting pinched down. But it is gonna be again the man in the form. Obviously, Chiku along with the other players, Showman, Rear, Near, and Haven. I mean, this complete team is in a sublime form, a prolific one, and they really had an influential gameplay. And in that, it was Chiku that really played the instrumental role in building that structure of the point system that they are standing for the moment. And all of a sudden, the hope has become a lot in terms of what they are looking to get past in the top 11 at the end of the day. It will be top 11 that will be progressing for the finals, but before that happen, there are a lot of matches, and these lot of matches are going to be the 4 for today. And after that 4 ends, there will be a deciding factor that which team are the ones that will be going through. And before that happens, each and every team will be playing to their own potential, and if they have done some sort of rookie mistakes in the past, they will be trying to rectify them and just trying to move forward slowly and steadily, because every day they need to start afresh.
Absolutely, every single day they need to start afresh, and when it comes to that fresh approach, that is what these teams better be equipped with, because a fresh mindset is what is required from these teams to be able to take on those fights. And those fights, of course, as I was just mentioning a few minutes ago, are certainly going to be based on the circle itself. And when the circle starts restricting, that is when the fights are to be anticipated. But for now, the teams are looking absolutely comfortable in their known rotations is what these teams are going to find themselves in. And in doing so, it is Eccentric Infinity who are going to be making a very, very long rotation, because this team dropped down all the way towards the northwestern front of course, Zarki, and now are going to be trying to get that rotation confirmed for themselves to get into the comfort of the zone. And as they do so, this team, I hope, does not get caught off guard and does not get third-partied upon, as this rotation that they are busy with is going to be a long stretched rotation. But eventually it seems like they are playing their cards right, where one of the players had moved on along to get this area scouted before the entirety of the team move on along with their buggies. And now it is going to be Oxygen Rising Star once again that we move on to, and that is a team that is in a close proximity towards another team, and that is going to be none other than BadBlood.
FOF BadBlood in the same vicinity, and they are holding the compound that is infamous for being the graveyard, because this is in a dip, and at any point, at any time, if Oxygen Rising Star go and play their cards well, it can be a game end. But then again, it is going to be FOF BadBlood with their aggressive gameplay. They will be resisting in their own way, in their own terms, and this is a one thing that I'll have my eyes set upon, that which sort of performance, which sort of strategies are they going to be chiming upon. But for the moment, it's Zadu from the sides of Oxygen Rising Star that is still not aggressing. He's still just finding the way, still getting the back cleared in order to just trying to influence the dominance. But with the formation with which Oxygen Rising Star are going for, it seems that they will be retreating from this preempted fight. I would say that was probable, but as soon as the players and the teams realize that right now we need to focus on a rotation, not the fight in the early stage of the game, because it's still 12 minutes. I mean, that's not the still, but still just 12 minutes in terms of the passive gameplay that they are playing for the moment. As far as the players are, as soon as the players are retreating from the same situation, it seems that FOF BadBlood must have gotten all these sound cues, and now they will be feeling safe.
Well, for now, that is the case. For now, that is the case. But as this journey progresses on, it seems like they have left, Oxygen Rising Star have left one of the players, that's going to be Zadu, on the flank angle to be able to, well, stick around in the vicinity of the team that was, of course, of FOF BadBlood, to see if at all that team makes a rotation from that compound that they are in. As soon as they do, this player Zadu will get to know, and of course will let his teammates know as to what to anticipate from this route, from this region itself. And of course from this position he will have that information of the other teams that are going to be retaliating as well. Along with all of this, it was none other than TREX Power who were able to bring in the first blood in this entire saga of this game, and that was none other than RJ, who was able to confirm a kill against the players of Archangels. And right now we can see that Archangels themselves are in a bit of a contestation and taking a fight against the players, and eventually it seems like Final Cut are also part of a fight against the players of Zana, and in that conversation they have been able to get the revival on their teammates. But on the other front, when it comes down to Zap, they are still looking at one player knocked. A kill has not been confirmed from either side, but that is exactly what the intention is from both the parties.
Zap Canover out in the open. They are on the receiving end as for sure. But now they are also retaliating with obviously Dipto just finding himself barely surviving onto 40 HP. He will be using all the first aid and bandages in order to get himself patched up. But they have made sure Zap Canavers that they will be retaliating to its own best. But Final Cut, they are holding those areas of Milta Power areas, and they are still away from these circles. It's not too much for a distance to cover them, but at the end of the day, it is some certain distance that they will be loving to travel into the circle. Zap Canavers, one player still needs the revival. Revival won't be the case, as now SUX will be finished off in style, as now Viper from the sides of Final Cut is also slowly and steadily making a move and just congregating with the rest of the teammates in order to build a lot of that strategy.
Absolutely are, and it seems like Zap are on the move as well, as they have lost one of their lads. They are going to be trying to get themselves in a decent placement for other teams next to the prison area that are going to be making or finding themselves rotating through the prison area indeed. And in that conversation, we also did see that the team of PX Esports were around in the proximity as well. So it is going to be Zap who will, for now, be reigning supreme in terms of the area that they've found themselves, because they've got that hill advantage against the teams. But eventually, when it comes to Final Cut, they got the better half of that fight because they were able to walk away with the point for themselves. Along with that, it also seems like Viper was able to participate in that loot and was perhaps going to be walking away with the level 3 kit. We shall see if that is what Viper has or not in a few minutes. And off now, it is going to be the conversation for the lads of Final Cut. They have made the rotation, they have pushed on across towards the area of prison itself, where we just did see that Zap made a rotation towards as well. But Final Cut is going to be on towards a different front as they go towards the apartments right close to the prison area and not exactly the prison itself.
Indeed, it is going to be the players are on a move. Final Cut Esports, I mean, they are looking pretty strong at this moment. One kill is what they have secured, and the dent was made on not other than but then it was Zap Canaver. But Zap Canaver then again finding themselves into the main compounds of those prisons, because it was Final Cut that was not holding the main compounds. They were in the closer vicinity in the here or nearby areas. They were trying to loiter around, and Wiz with some different sort of strategy, he's trying to park his US into this warehouse. Will it be possible for him or not? Because that is, the width is completely more than what the width of this warehouse allows you to let that US enter into. That shows that the players are quite wise enough to save their vehicle, whatever types of strats they can do so. But obviously vehicle is one good thing that obviously helps you to transgress and help you get mobile in this match, and obviously that is a potential cover if you get distracted. But for the moment, it is Bad Intention that are just moving here and there with all the 4 players in the closer by vicinity. The circle has made a shift, thus resulting each and every team into the center line, apart from certain teams. That is going to be obviously TRZ, some certain players, Eccentric certain players, and Martyrs 1971. I mean, Martyrs 1971, they have to cover a long distance, a very long distance.
Well, they certainly are working towards it. As of now, they are all by themselves, no team around in the vicinity around them to be contesting that rotation. But Bad Intentions are the ones right here on our screens taking a fight against the players of TRZ. But eventually TRZ will be able to make a rotation from that region, and of course on the other front it is Zap taking a fight to the players of Eccentric. Now we did see Eccentric make a really long rotation from the side of course Zarki, but eventually it is Zap who seems to have gotten the better half of that rotation and gotten a confirmed knock for themselves. But will that be converted into a kill? We shall come back to that, because fights are being taken on, and it is the 4th zone, which is of course meaning that the zone itself is the reason why these teams are now having to take those fights, and taking those fights implies kills, and that is what these teams are slowly and steadily, all of them, working towards. It seems like Zap had themselves set up in the prison, but it is going to be the side of Eccentric that had a different idea and decided to move in and push in along. Sadly, they walked right in the crosshairs of Zap, and in doing that, they have certainly gotten themselves outplayed. But in all of this, it is also Bad Intentions chiming in, because Bad Intentions also we saw them in the kill feed taking the players of course, Eccentric down. Now, Eccentric's player are not looking good, but it is going to be Bad Intentions who are taking a lot of fights. They have been able to spot TRZ's player as well, and it was none other than Mamba that was dropped.
Exactly, the players are going down slowly and steadily. This time it is going to be rare. The earlier time it was Mad Cat, but still the players are surviving slowly and steady. But from the northern side, there is a jam-packed lobby, as we are getting to see TREX Power on a roll, as now the plus sign onto that yellow marker that suggests that FOF BadBlood is on the receiving end. And now Bamba goes down thanks to that onslaught that is coming in from side of Fallen 5 Esports. And this is not looking good. This is certainly not looking good for one team that was really eyeing upon to get into the top 5 onto the other other hand side. It is just the 3-man roster that are really dominating from the northern side, not just allowing any team to just bloom in the vicinity. It is gonna be RJ. You mentioned the name of RJ in the early stage of the game that really tried to take the fight, and he is not shying away to take the fight even in this early 18 minutes of this game.
Absolutely is, and most certainly there are quite a lot of third parties being dropped on along as well, where we did see Fallen 5 players also chiming in along against the players of TRZ. It was Bad Intentions still continuing along that onslaught and confirming that TRZ be non-existent in this game in the Erangel, but as of now, BadBlood is trying their level best to take on the players of course, TREX Power, but for the moment have not been able to get those nade parades working in their favor. With that, TREX is looking strong with 2 kills that they've been able to accumulate for themselves with just the 3 players that are surviving around the kill feed. PX Esports also chiming in along with Martyrs, getting some kills, some knocks for themselves, but of course, that is what is to be anticipated when there are so many teams in the 4th zone itself. 19 minutes into the game, and finally the fights are being forced onto these players.
Mamba again goes down. The thanks to the onslaught that is coming in from the side of Rex Esports, and now Rex Esports are just chiming in. It is just that any team is just looking at the players of TRZs and taking them down. It is not looking good for TRZ side, but FOF BadBlood is also one team that is really trying to survive in this situation. But from the northern side, it is one more team that is trying to come, and that is going to be obviously of Oxygen Rising Star. Till now, they haven't faced the onslaught. Till now, they haven't faced the heat. Till now, they haven't faced the brunt. But as soon as they make the entry, it is going to be RJ from the sides of TREX Power that will be just waiting slowly and steadily for them to take the fight. But FOF BadBlood, the players are pretty much close to them. He takes one down, tries to take another one down, but Abir is pretty much just ready on his toes to take him down. But from the backhand side, it is going to be Shimanto that will be getting the better half of it. And with that being said, it is going to be Shimanto that has now gone down, with RJ still surviving. It seems that all of a sudden TREX obviously are getting a lot of shot from the backhand side, and thus resulting Rock OP goes down. RJ is just surviving on sliver of an HP, and in all this situation, FOF BadBlood has really got a humongous amount of time in order to pin down the player, and as soon as he get up, he will take it out. But RJ makes sure that before he goes down, he does make sure that he will be taking things down, and Abir will be falling off as the play zone will be coming into the factor. And with that being said, it is going to be RJ a lone survivor. But what a game, I mean, what a performance from his side.
What a perfect play being showcased from him. Of course, he just has those bandages to himself and not a lot of health, or hopefully he gets the time to be able to get that bandaged up. But eventually when it came down to his helmet as well as the vest, it was not looking good. It was damaged, that is for sure. But this team of TREX Power certainly outplayed the competition of FOF BadBlood. But as the zone moves on along to the 5th zone, Martyrs 1971 also chiming in with a lot of kills of their own as they try and take on the fights. But it seems like RJ's plight is going to be non-suffering, because now he has been eliminated thanks to the perfect spray coming in from the side of PX Esports, and in doing so, Oxygen Rising Star also get eliminated thanks to, of course, Martyrs 1971 that we just witnessed. It is looking like quite a crazy play that is being showcased from these teams, because the circle is just pushing so many teams. I mean, 31 players in the 5th zone altogether in this region. It is just not enough area for the teams to be able to completely dominate, wherein there are third parties being created. Bad Intentions are just absolutely hammering the players of TRZ Esports and will be sending them away from this game.
TRZ Esports succumbs to pressure, but its final cut that is just not letting things go away from their side. They're still holding, but it is going to be PX Esports. Chiku is knocked down, but Showman is still there. Near is spinning out the grenade. If this gets connected into the small little smoke cloud that has been found down, it can be a real detrimental situation. Before that happens, it is going to be Showman and Near with that prowess that they're showing. They are just looking absolutely phenomenal at this moment. But as soon as Near was trying to make a move into the zone, he was being pinned down, and it was Heaven from the sides of PX Esports that really act as a savior, and he is the hero, because had he gone down, it could have been a real game end. But in doing so, 7 kill is where PX Esports standing and all 4 players alive.
Absolutely, they had 30 seconds remaining before the zone is going to be restricting, with the blue zone coming on top of them, so they are going to have to be very, very quick. And it seems like Martyrs 1971 are the ones who will be bringing that onslaught to the face of PX Esports. In doing so, it is going to be a bleak affair for the side of PX Esports, but they've still been able to accumulate quite a lot of kills for themselves from this fight, and a perfect onslaught was showcased from them. As we move on towards the circle itself, towards the zone itself, it is going to be the team of course, Rex right there, who are going to be finding themselves in the comfort of the zone, and it is Zap that were moving on towards the prison for a long time before the entirety of this saga continued, and it is where Zap's position was, towards the prison area itself, and that is where the circle is going to be bringing these teams towards.
Zap Canaver has been holding these prison area for last 10 minutes and thus resulting in each and every player still holding the spot. But what a parkour that has come in from the sides of PX Esports, and all the two players have fallen off but with no fallen damage because the vehicle is actually what they saved them. But bad intentions, the player are coming in slowly and steadily. 5 kill is what they're standing for the moment. Khalid on the other hand from the sides of Martyrs 1971 has gone down obviously with a lot of kill in his favor, and they are also looking pretty strong at this moment. And now Rex will be facing the heat of Counter's grenade as now he is trying to chime upon on all these players. It's a split. It's a big split with which bad intentions players are playing, and it seems till now that split is working in the favor.
It certainly is. We've got 8 teams remaining, 23 minutes into this game. Bad intentions still looking pretty strong with all 4 players alive on top of the prison areas where they find themselves on those ridges, and that is going to be working absolutely in perfect contestation for the side of bad intentions, because they can get a drop on so many of these teams that are finding themselves within the compound itself. And that was Zap right there, alongside which it seems like bad intentions 2 players are going to be jumping into the compound and trying to take on the fight from here, and they will have the cover of the other 2 players wherein it is Naruto and Stalker who have created that flank angle from the ridge top itself. So quite an interesting play and strategy being created from the side of bad intentions, and it seems like TREX now are going to have a bit of a tricky situation where it is going to be TREX Skeleton who have all 4 players surviving within these warehouses, but it is none other than Ferdinand right here who is trying to dominate with those nade parades being showcased against the players of TREX Skeleton. As of now, no knock has been given to him or confirmed for him, but that is only a matter of time, because he is just bringing in that onslaught again and again, and those utilities are bringing in quite a lot of damage. But on the other front, it seems like TREX TREX Skeleton have decided to actually push on with the nade parades, and that is just a perfect turn of events where Ferdinand and Counter have been knocked, and the 2 other players, well, never mind the 2 other players of the team, because it has just been an annihilation that has been showcased from the side of Senior right here.
If you can throw the grenade, we do have the hands, we do have the utilities working in our favor, and thus resulting a complete annihilation for the sides of bad intentions. And the circle has also gone for the shift. Now this shift is completely going again into favor of Zap Canaver, and with the hold of the compound that is still into the favor, it is seemingly good looking for them, because there are multiple windows and there is bound to some player that will be coming in the open. But this is the prison finish that we are heading towards. The players are holding the important back mountains, those ridges, and I'm talking about Archangels. They are all 3 poor men strong for the moment, with Martyrs 1971 also in the different side of the small little warehouse that are positioned. It is not going to be an easy task to survive on this onslaught, but Zap Canavars don't making a lot of shots. They are making sure that they will be using all the utilities and all those grenades in the last part of the game. But bad intentions was on a roll until and unless now they are being paralyzed thanks to that onslaught that is coming in from the sides of TREX Skeleton. But from different direction, it is going to be play zone that will be taking care of them. And before that happens, it was 1 kill steal that went into the favor of Fallen 5 Esports.
What a play this is. We are on the 7th zone, 14 players still surviving right here in this small little area, in this small little zone, and this is just absolutely destructive play being showcased from the sides of TREX Skeleton as well, because this team is the one who absolutely decimated and stopped bad intentions in their tracks, and even though strategy was working kind of in favor of bad intentions, but of course it was just a perfect approach that Senior from the side of TREX Skeleton took, again with that nade parade being showcased and completely stopping bad intentions in their track. And as the game progresses on along, it is going to be Eccentric, Terror and Error right here who is going to be trying to get into the zone, but it seems like Senior has been able to spot him as he got those smoke walls creating for himself. But eventually, when it comes down to the play itself, Eccentric this is the final player from the side of Eccentric indeed. And along with that, when it comes to the nade parade, we know that Senior is very much on point and could be taking this opportunity away from Eccentric.
Again, one more grenade does it for Senior, as Error has been spotted down, and not only spotted down, he has been eliminated, and with that it was a game end for Eccentric Infinity, and they have been eliminated at 5th, 6th spot with just 0 kills into the favor. And on to the other hand side, it was also an elimination for Archangels.
Well, we have, of course, TREX right here. TREX Skeleton being absolutely behemoth, but very close to them is, of course, going to be the team of MARTYRS 1971. And right across this compound that this team of TREX Skeleton find themselves in is going to be the team of Fallen 5 Esports as well. So it is not looking good for MARTYRS 1971 for now, because the nade parade against them from the side of Zap are absolutely being destructive, and that is what is resulting in teams, absolutely team of MARTYRS 1971 absolutely losing their players. We still have 4 teams surviving. MARTYRS 1971 are just not being allowed to move away from this warehouse because Zap is absolutely controlling them with the utility advantage from the height advantage that they've been able to get. We are in the 8th zone. 11 players are still alive.
Indeed, it is going to be the hell of a lot of ruckus that will be created in this last circle. We are heading towards the 28th minute, and we have already crossed the 28th minute. The clock is ticking down, and so are the players. Are just waiting for the one round move. M2492 action. Everything in sort of action is now grey. Grenades are being used. Guns are being coming into closer proximity as now Fallen 5 Esports are trying to take the play down. Before that happens, it is going to be Z-God from the sides of TREX that will be taken care of, and now they are falling down slowly and steadily. With Fallen 5 making the third fight situation, it is looking pretty decent for the moment for TREX Skeleton, and they have successfully eliminated one squad. But Zap Canavar onto their inside, they are still not willing enough to take into the fight. It is the right moment, the right time to make a big dent onto the player of obviously TREX Skeleton. If not, they will be giving the important chance to revive all these players, and in these breathing space, it is going to be MARTYRS 1971 that will be shining upon. 8 kill is where they're standing at this moment, and out of the 8, it has been 4 for Khalid.
Absolutely, what a play this team has been able to create. MARTYRS 1971, but it seems like Zap Canavar's player Wiz certainly has the better half of this fight, because he has been able to get the information against the players of MARTYRS 1971. He's going to be positioning himself in such a way so that he's going to be able to, of course, get away from the nade as well as get a control onto the fight and on to the tangent. The second player of Zap Canavar, that's going to be Sedative, is certainly keeping a watchful eye onto those stairs as well. And now when the zone is going to be moving away, it is going to be none other than Ragnar from the side of MARTYRS 1971 who will be dropped. But eventually Zap will also be dropped, and it is going to be all down to Sedative to go ahead and get that revival to his teammate. In doing so, he's going to have to move out of the zone, and as he does, it is not looking good. It is not looking easy for the side of Zap. But now the conversation has turned towards the positioning of TREX indeed, and TREX Skeleton could very well get the better half of this fight against the players of MARTYRS 1971. And it was spotted that the players, one of the opponent players has moved on into the building, so of course the Molotov will be dropped so that the entry into the building at least can be stopped for the moment. But will it be enough? Because again, we can clearly say that from the players of MARTYRS 1971, they are setting up for nades, and that nades, if they are placed right, can be the end of STFU and his teammate.
Exactly. Bot realizing the fact that the one player, Khalid, is pretty much close to where the low toss grenade can actually do the business, and it does the business as now Khalid goes down with the help of the grenade, and STFU bot makes it all happen now. RAM, the player, pretty much closer to where the player actually positioned, with Viz holding the front end and side. It is not looking good as now Zap Canavar is making a big dent onto the player, and now Sedative realizing the fact that enough of enough, and he will be securing a lot of kill in all these things. It is going to be the last player surviving for the side of Zap Canavar. Sedative has been pulled down, but still it is one more player surviving for his side, but he is so low on HP. I'm just waiting which is one of the last player that is still surviving in all these situations, and still it is going to be Viz from the sides of Zap Canavar that is still holding that terrace. He has 4 first aid, that means he'll battle, but no, it seems that this is going to be last case, and thus resulting one team, obviously that was of TREX Skeleton, getting that chicken, because that was so late for him, for his side to get that first aid pop into, and that injection into the body was pretty much late. But before that happened, it was one thing that TREX Skeleton made it happen. 10 kill is what they stand for a moment, and 13th total rank.
What a play, what a massive turn of events for the side of TREX Skeleton. Same can be said for, of course, Zap Canavar as well, because they held that prison ground for a long time. But, of course, TREX Skeleton moved into the arena with all 4 players alive, and they were absolutely destructive and phenomenal, and the crucial role played by them was to stop bad intentions in their track. Had that not taken place, it would probably have resulted in a different fight, because bad intentions till that moment already had accumulated so many kills. But with that, the first game of the final day coming to an end, and it is going to be, of course, TREX Skeleton taking a wonderful, wonderful position, but that is still not going to be it, because they need to move up fourth, and they are going to have to play this sort of a game once again and again to confirm their position in the top 11. For the moment, of course, we're going to be moving on to the most valuable player coming in from this game, and the MVP for this game is going to go to STFU from TREX. What a play, what an incredible play from TREX Skeleton's STFU right here, with 5 kills, 3 assists, 740 damage dished out.
Exactly, a very good number coming upon. The players are stepping up slowly and steadily, but I mean, this team has been a real good thing to talk about. TREX Skeleton, I mean, whatever you say about this team is on a real rise. We talk about their performance in their last day's gameplay, where they were looking strong, and they have started where they left of the journey in the day 4. But itself, this is one of the last chance for each and everyone, and doing so, it is going to be TREX Skeleton that is looking pretty much absolutely gobsmackingly well, with Wiz from the side of Zapcanavar, the last player surviving. He also does a lot of home damage, and thus resulting himself finding in the top player list at 2nd position.
Absolutely. With that, as we move on to the players in the top player list itself, we do see players from MARTYRS coming in, we do see players from Zap, of course, chiming in along as well. But in all of this, it is going to be Bad Intentions Naruto, who has been able to get the longest distance kill of 232 meters. Amazing, amazing play, along with F5, that is Fallen 5, who was also part of those final fights and were just maintaining that position very close to the players of TREX Skeleton with the utilities that they had, the smoke rather, that they were using to be able to, of course, get their position not be given away. And again, in all of this, this was the longest Erangel, I believe, that we've seen in the PMCO, with the minutes reaching all the way up to, I believe, 32-minute marker, where the passive approach is what was being showcased from so many of these teams. But along with that, talking about the match rank, and TREX Skeleton walking away with 25 points, MARTYRS 1971 following them very closely. But what a play this was, because TRZ Esports were the ones who were sadly stopped in their tracks, and that again we have to thank Bad Intentions to.
Indeed, it was one team that really made it not happen for them for this game itself, but Eccentric Infinity was the one team that really tried to take not the fight but also the placement points, and thus resulting them getting the 4 placement points, the important placement points. If we just talk about that, but Oxygen Rising Star, they were coming in, but they were stuck between all the teams that have already created a long ruckus on the northern side. But talking about the ruckus, we will be getting to see the Oppo F19 Pro moments, where obviously we'll be getting to see a lot of fights that started erupting in the very early stage of the game. It was not so early, but then it was 15 to 19 minutes where the fight actually started erupting, and in that doing so, it was FOF BadBlood that really had a very bad time, because there was one team that was really trying to time bomb, and then it was MARTYRS 1971, and this was the one thing where PX Esports was really looking absolutely unstoppable.
Absolutely were, and this is when, of course, TREX Skeleton just completely obliterated the competition that was about to give them that third party, and that was none other than Bad Intentions. And that was not it, because STFU right here was absolutely able to get another knock onto the players of Bad Intentions, so he had spotted them as well. An amazing, amazing perfect play is what TREX Skeleton showcased, where the team was absolutely synergistic in terms of the way they pushed on into this hostelry area itself, and then from there completely took over the entirety of the fight, where they were able to take on the players of Fallen 5 and completely decimate them. And then it was, of course, MARTYRS 1971 that was brought down to their knees, thanks to, of course, TREX Skeleton and combined efforts coming in from Zap.
I mean, yeah, very good effort coming in from the side of Sedative. And Sedative was the one that really, with that valiant effort, he really tried to take the last player down, and then it was Wiz on the terrace on the top, was trying to decimate the players, and he was holding the first stage, and that could have been the case. But for the moment, it is the overall ranking with which we are heading towards. 140 total points is where Bad Intentions are standing at this moment. I guess 8 to 7 points is what they secured in this one last match. 3 more to go. 13 is the deficit that they need to trespass, and with that, it is also one big challenge for TRZ Esports, since in the early stage of the game they did falter on securing at least 1 or 0 points in the last game. They still have to cross a long way. They are the one that I guess will be qualifying for sure, because now the teams are started making a comeback. Talk about Zapcanavar, talk about Fallen 5, talk about TREX. They are all coming in, and it's Exitron Red Army. The 96 is the threshold. 96 is the cutoff. Which teams are going to be the one that will be crossing over this 96 mark?
A lot of them can. We can see that PX Esports is right around the corner, and of course, along with that, we just saw some perfect play being showcased from the side of TREX Skeleton as well. So game by game, these teams are trying their level best to climb up across the board, but again, it is going to be a tricky affair, because now we've got one game done. That remains only 3 games for the entirety of the day. That means 3 more games, and those are the opportunities that these teams are going to have to, well, combine their efforts together to get themselves moving in towards the top 11. But like was showcased right here, an extended fight, a delayed fight is what these teams are going to be playing based on the playstyle that we just saw. So of course, like that map, 4th zone is when we eventually saw fights taking place. So if that is the case, that is going to be anticipated from the next map, which is going to be of Miramar. Things are going to get a bit slow perhaps, but with that, we are going to go on a slow, short little break. We'll be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust, if you know what I mean. We got a good thing going. We got a good thing going on.
Here we go now.
Hello and welcome once again to PUBG Mobile Club Open. This is of course an amazing day, because this is the final day where a lot is on stake between Group B and D, and in that we've got the first game taken care of where it was Erangel. It was an extended affair. I believe 32 minutes is what that game ended up resulting towards. But
Eternity, took an eternity for the match.
It certainly did, and I hope that will not be the case on Miramar, and that is the upcoming map where of course we shall see what sort of a playstyle these teams are going to be joining in with.
History says, the custom says, I mean, Miramar is supposed to be long enough, but since Erangel went for that, as you just mentioned, 31 to 32 minutes, I mean, what sort of thing can we expect to see in the game of Miramar? Because right off the go, the player was just playing up so passively, and it was 19th minute, if I'm not wrong, 18th or 19th, but where the fight started happening, and that too when the terrain was not favoring. Just imagine those ridges that will be coming into the play when the game of Miramar. And talking about ridges, it is going to be the flight path, it is going to be the desert action as the big bird takes its leap into its air, as now the flight path is making its way from the backhand side of Impala and the complete southern dominated flight path. That means taking away big cities like El Pozo, Hacienda, Credofil, La Cobrilla, Water Treatment, Cozy Valley, El Hazard, Torre Humada and Campo Militar out of the equation.
Youch. That was a youch. That was a spell being casted from Ankit right there, pointing out the names of the locations that are not going to be possible for the teams to drop. But yep, with that, of course, he's absolutely on point. That is what the flight path is going to be dictating when it comes down to the play style itself that these teams can be anticipated to play with. Talking about the drops themselves, we do see Final Cut taking an early exit from the map, from the flight plane itself, and going on down towards El Azhar from the looks of it. And as the journey moves on along towards the southern part, we are of course going to be looking at Zap Kanawar, who are also going to be moving on towards the southern part when it comes down to their playstyle, and that is going to be none other than Impala, where they find themselves probably. But along with that, TRZ are still on seat belts. No, finally they are going to be moving away. Yep, and they are certainly going to go down towards Chumasera for now.
That's what I expect. That's what we have seen in the past, and that's what TRZ Esports eventually distinguishes their gameplay apart from other teams. But for the moment, it is going to be a big traffic on the southern side, where we're getting to see 4 Archangels in a closer proximity, where Martyrs 1971 are jumping down, and then we have gotten to see 4 players from the sides of PX Esports in 4 different directions. Chiku on the eastern side, Showman on the southern side, Nier holding the center lines, and 1 more player onto the western side. And the circle is completely favoring each and every one, apart from 4 different teams that have always headed towards the area of El Azhar. And El Azhar is where we can get to see a big massive fight, because I really want to see these fights happening. It's going to be FC, it is going to be FOF BadBlood, and obviously some more team. As we got to see, it's 1208 meter already. The timer is set, the distance is set. That is not going to be increasing or decreasing. That completely responds and relies upon the fact that how the player are going to be strategizing. But for the moment, it is going to be FOF BadBlood in a closer proximity with the eccentric Infinity, and it's up to them. If they want to take the fight, they can. If they want to retreat, there is also an option.
They certainly do have the option. On the other front, it is going to be the Winchester being brought on from the side of Stalker of Bad Intentions. A long range rotation that was being showcased from the other team that, of course, will be able to get away from that position. No problem whatsoever at all. But this is when the problems for the side of FOF BadBlood as well as Eccentric could very well get initiated. Loki and Alcohol right here trying to get themselves segregated as they try and create a flank angle and a push against the players of FOF BadBlood. But on the minimap, we can clearly see that Eccentric, 2 players, of course, right here are going to be trying to get into against the players of BadBlood, but the other 2 players are on towards the flank angle as well. And this is where we can see that the side of Divider is taking on the fight, is taking on the shots, and Eccentric's other player is also going to be chiming in. So it's 3 players on towards this side in front of our screens, and 1 player who is on to the right hand side to create a flank, and that is most certainly a decent setup. But will that be enough is what we shall have to see, because it's all going to be based on the information that has been retained from the side of Eccentric. And of course, FOF BadBlood, as they take on the fights, they are going to be giving away the information as well. And it is none other than Naeem right here, who was in the flank angle, but now seems to be going on down towards their teammates itself, as they are going to be taking this fight as a team altogether.
Indeed, it is going to be, and with Divide holding that broken wall, it is looking good, but he is giving and making sure that the cover fire from the sides of FOF BadBlood. And it seems that now BadBlood is in a mood to actually retreat and fall themselves away from this fight, because 2 players are already in a motion, are already in a movement, as now they are moving away. But as soon as that happens, it is going to be Eccentric Infinity that are on a manhunt. They are just looking to pull the player down, but they are certainly anonymous of the exact positions of where BadBlood are actually positioned. But the pink markers are already there. It is gonna be Oxygen Riding Circle. Complete close of vicinity is where they're finding themselves into, and this is going to be a tough chance for them to survive. Abid is on the back foot, on the back end side, and this is the most vulnerable position. If we talk about being on the vehicle, if he survives, it will be just the mercy of the Oxygen Rising Stars.
Well, there is no mercy here. There is no mercy here from the side of Oxygen Rising Star. Absolutely not. No question about it. And what a jump that was.
Wow.
What a jump that was. It certainly resulted in him going down to a very low HP indeed. But, of course, he's not enough to have to for him. But that does not seem to be the case for long for FOF BadBlood indeed, because Bad Intentions seem to have moved on into this Hacienda del Petro region, and in doing so, Bad Intentions are going to be trying to confirm that knock into a kill, and it is none other than Naruto Noob right here, who seems to be wanting to make a push all by himself, of course, and that is something that he will be able to do. His teammates are going to be chiming in along as well, and he does have some cover as well with his teammate following him with the exact same spots. And what a play that was. What a play that was. He was just crossing the lane. He was like, oh, I spot you. I spice you.
Not only that, the players are going down slowly and steadily. It is not looking good. I mean, the player was taking down, counter went down, but before going down, he made sure that he will be finishing things off. But bad intentions really off to a good start. 2 kills is what they're standing at this moment, and it was just the 2 player that went away from the onslaught. And now it seemed that the player must be banging their head that we should have taken the fight in the closer vicinity with the eccentric Infinity, and just not. They didn't take the fight. They had the buggy. Rather, they made a decision to fall themselves away from it. And the way they moved, they found themselves in the Hacienda del Patron region, where exactly bad intentions, all the 4 players were positioned. It was M249, and it's really hard to survive. And taking into consideration, taking one more fact, that it's just the early stage of the game. The players don't have the best of the best loot. We just got to see it was just the one shotgun that was in his hand. One player didn't even have any sort of first aid. Eventually he was given the revival, but couldn't do much in terms of the healing and all. But obviously that one kill could have gone into the favor of Oxygen had that spray been more disciplined in terms of that. But certainly now they are on a move. They are on a move 480 meters. Now it's increasing. It's increasing. That means they are going for some different elongated rotation. And this is a good strategy if you are not comfortable, if not sure whether if you are or will be going for that different route, there is always an alternative. And an alternative way is always a good one.
Absolutely, and that is certainly something that they can very well be hoping that it does not have any teams in towards that region, because they are making that extended long rotation to get into the comfort of the zone. On the other tangent, talking about FOF BadBlood, they have not had a good start. They have certainly not had a good start when it comes to the utilities, when it comes to the fights, when it comes to the advantages of the fights themselves, everything going against them. But for now, they at least have their lives in the game itself, and that is something that can very well be helping them, because they might just move on along to take some placement points, and that is of course going to be the first priority for the side of FOF BadBlood, because it is a 2-man squad, or rather has been brought down to a 2-man squad. The only team who has taken that big a massive blow, because all the other teams in the lobby are looking pretty comfortable with all 4 players still surviving, and the rotations are being made, where we can see on towards the northern side, it is going to be Final Cut that are making that rotation, a long rotation that they are bringing in from their sides. But as they do so, it seems like Bad Intentions are very well equipped and set up right there as well. And if it is going to be possible, it might just be the case that Bad Intentions maybe, just maybe, might want to bring down Final Cut and their rotation. It is probably not going to be allowed for now, and or no, it will be. It seems like it will be, because Genesis and his teammate, they have gotten into the area, but they have given the information to their teammates that there is a team right here that is probably going to be taking on some shots. So you might as well just stop right there and try and make a different rotation. And we can see in the blue zone, the 2 players of course, Final Cut are just stopped in their tracks.
Yep, indeed. And Bad Intentions again chiming upon the players I've just got to see. But PXC Sports, it seems that they are now stuck in somewhere, and they are peppering a lot of bullets. And Los Leones, till now we haven't seen a fight in the initial stage of the game, because this is a big city and there is always a chance to retreat and to go for the different routes. But since PXC Sports is there, it is bound to have some contestation, and we'll have to see one more team. Just take an example of Zap Canavar joining in the same fray. But Zap Canavar knows that if we find themselves in the closer proximity, and since PXC Sports do love to go towards the area of Los Leones, it can be a bad move, a really bad move. And in doing so, they might end up losing some of the players. But certainly, Zap Canavar needs to make a move into zone. As soon as Zirkle shifted, that has completely gone on to the western side, and this time it is going to be the king of the hill situations, because on the southern side of Chumacera onto the western side, there is a big long mountain range completely, and if any team gets hold of it, that can certainly be their chance, or that can certainly be their way. But for the moment, it is airdrop number 1 that has made their way, and that offers you the MG3 light machine guns, eventually the new gun added into the meta, and that exclusiveness brings in with the 616 and 990 rounds per minute. This is one good gun to have in your hand.
Absolutely. Even the sound of it. Even the sound of it is so very different indeed compared to all the others as well. And it just is power. It's just power that is being thrown onto your opponent's face. And that is, of course, thanks to the gun being LMG. But with that, moving on with the conversation of those rotations, it is going to be Martyrs 1971 who are going to be trying to get themselves in the comfort of the zone. And now this is a tough luck situation for the side of Final Cut as they make that rotation. It is going to be none other than Bad Intentions, the compound that this team is taking on, and it seemed like Bad Intentions Stalker was going to be creating a flank angle as he wanted to jump out of that, but was absolutely spotted and brought down to his knees. So what a perfect play being created right here from the side of Final Cut's player. But eventually, as he does try and get that kill confirmed, it will certainly be the ledge of the window that will not allow him to do so.
Indeed it is, and also the pan that was holding on his back, and that really rebounds that those legs that were papered down. But it is seemingly an impossible chance for him to get revival, and Stalker falls down to the onslaught, and the team Final Cut are taking. That's a big team. Since they have finished now, they know that it is going to be bad intentions, and now the team really is high up on the confidence. The game of Erangel itself, the team was going in with the formation. The kill number was pretty much high and decent in terms of the fights they were taking, and now they have pressured bad intentions to take that alternative route. 1, 2 being they are in the blues, and since counter is just having 1 first aid, 15 bandages, this can be just one of the tricky rotation.
It can be, and on the other tangent, talk about the third player teammate, right? Fardeen. He does not have a lot of health working for him. They are in the blues, and they are going to have to get that first aid pop real soon, or else it's going to be trouble for Fardeen. And it seems like Fardeen is going to be trying to get the bandages working in his favor based on how in increments the health was being increased. On the other front, it is going to be Final Cut, who seem to be not onto the right tangent as they tried to take the compound of bad intentions, but eventually, of course, they walked in and completely decimated Stalker. With that, got 1 point, and now are going to be moving on to the comfort of the zone. They have not yet found that, but of course, they are going to be keeping their eyes out towards the opponent teams as well. They cannot make a blind rotation as they do. We can clearly see that Confused right here did stop. He did have a scope and was able to just scope out what, if at all, there was any vehicle or any compound that perceived as if a team had taken over it. And of course, now the decision has been made where the team is going to be moving in to get themselves in the comfort of the zone. And as they do so, it is going to be none other than TREX Power that they find themselves up against. But TREX Power, will they be wanting to take on this fight? We see TREX Power's players getting into those vehicles, and it is probably going to be, yep, a fallback from the side of TREX Power indeed, where the two players are going to get into their vehicles and completely bring themselves away from that and get themselves into the fight. But talking about the rotation coming in from Bad Intentions, now Bad Intentions is bringing themselves exactly onto the same onslaught, and seems like a likely revenge can be anticipated from the side of Bad Intentions, because they did lose one of their players, and that was Stalker, and that is something that is not going to sit right with the players of Bad Intentions. Talking about the rotation of the zone itself, it is still TRZ who find themselves in the comfort of the zone along with PX Esports and FOF.
If this is a preempted push, if this is a preempted rotation from the sides of TRZ, this is one of the most brilliant one, because I was expecting the circle to go towards the western side or maybe towards the southwestern side around the Minas Del Valley, where there's mountain ranges are present. But spot on technique with which TRZ Sports are approaching towards this fight. But onto the hand side, it is going to be a lot of teams that are coming in from the southern side, and in doing so, it is going to be TRZ that will be sitting on the western side of the circle, still away from all these early fights. And this is what the team wanted. This is all what the fans and the players wanted, and thus resulting in themselves of taking away from these fights. And they will be taking the fight, and not only the fight, they will be gatekeeping the situation if the circle tends to go away, because they are finding themselves in a better half of the compound, and they are in the fortified area onto the other side. It is going to be the northern side that's completely being packed, that with obviously with Fallen 5 Esports, obviously by TREX Power, and from the right hand side it is going to be Eccentric Infinity that are slowly and steadily making a move. But in doing so, it is going to be a tough call for Bad Intentions, as now they are being lagging in terms of the rotation. With just the 3 players surviving, it is going to be a tough affair for them to survive, because all and each player that are present in the lobby, they are just looking too aggressive, and in doing so they might result up in losing some of the players if they to go head-on-head fight. But the fight is on, as now Zap Canaver's players falters down.
Absolutely, and it is also the players of Archangels who have been dropped down. It is not complete kill confirmed for them, but eventually again one of the players was knocked up as a plus sign was drawn on top of him. But eventually, hopefully, his teammates will be able to give a revival. We'll come back to that, as we do have Final Cut on our screens, and they have been able to find themselves in the compound that is not taken over by anybody. So that is going to be absolutely perfect state of play for the side of Final Cut. And right now, on the other tangent, on the other front, all together in the open, it is going to be Oxygen Rising Star is the team that is taken on the onslaught to the face of TREX and Archangels, and in that doing so, they have been able to deliver another knock onto those players. Just some perfectly set up Mini shots from the side of Zahn from Oxygen Rising Star is absolutely dominating, but in the open is where you get caught off guard, and in that it is going to be Martyrs 1971 that is in the vicinity as well. So we can genuinely expect a third party that could be brought on from the side of Martyrs 1971, but for now it is Oxygen Rising Star that is reigning supreme with those perfectly set up tap shots, but also in the compound that is in the vicinity of Oxygen, it is going to be Zap that find themselves in the close proximity, and that is something that of course these teams are going to have to be very careful of each other.
But Oxygen Rising Star, they're just not over-aggressing. They're using all the ridges beautifully, and this is one good thing that we need to talk about. And all the players are just playing not passively, but still actively in terms of the scouting area, and they are moving slowly and steadily. And once they will be making sure if the opening knock is made, might be the time that they will be giving for the push, but still no, with no success whatsoever, and thus resulting them still playing on the back foot side. But Zadu is going for a move with Sakai OP joining Zan and Zenorex in that truck. It will be a thing that we need to talk about, but he is with a different Coop RV and he will be leading the charge, as now he'll be letting go of all the players. Some things are really going upon. I mean, he really wanted to sit in the Coop RV for the moment, as now they will be making a move into the center line of the circle and the rotation. A good fight we wanted to expect, but still now it's Zan that is now being pinned down, and with Zadu going down just on 40 HP, it is going to be Sedative that is just trying to pin down the player, and thankfully he has spotted down the rotation of Oxygen Rising Star.
He most certainly has, and of course is going to try and pencil them down and as they make that rotation, but eventually for the moment they are not going to be able to do any such thing, because the team of Oxygen Rising Star is going to be able to get themselves moving on across. But across with all of that, it is of course going to be the team of Zap that are just going into the position of Martyrs 1971, and now the conversation is what sort of a playstyle is this team of Oxygen Rising Star going to be creating. They have been able to get themselves in the vehicles, they have been able to get themselves working towards those sprays, and that's what their plan was. But eventually it seems like the kill or the knock that was anticipated from the fight has not been confirmed. On the other front, Final Cut have found Fallen 5 Esports, and Final Cut are taking that fight. They are tapping those shots perfectly and bringing down the players of Fallen 5, but a kill has not yet been confirmed from the looks of it.
Indeed, it is going to be, but for the moment, I mean, not a lot of head-on-head fight we got to see. We expected Zap Canvas going up against two Oxygen Rising Star. I would still say, apart from all those early contestation, it's still a slow start, because we are getting the knock, but the kill are not confirmed. We are getting the knock, but the push is not made. We are getting the knock, but the players are not going head-to-head and taking the fight, and thus resulting them still on being the play safe side. But Play Zone is taking care of some of the players, and now they are making some late rotation, but in doing so, it is going to be Final Cut confused, that was completely confused whether to stop the vehicle or to jump away. But the poor little lad need to realize the physics that it is him that will be on the receiving end, because if you fall away from a running vehicle, you will be getting a lot of damage.
Absolutely, and in the mini feed we can clearly see that it is the players of Eccentric who are taking on the players of AG Sports, and one by one there's another knock coming in from the side of Alcohol. He was able to get 2 knocks in just a matter of minutes. Perfect play and spray being showcased from him, and eventually it is PXE Sports who will be looking not so good in that fight, and this is what is on our screens as well, as one by one the players of Eccentric Infinity just completely decimated, and that too was all based on Alcohol and his spray. That was so very much on point, and in that it is PXE Sports left with just one player surviving from the looks of it. All the other players have been knocked for the moment. As we come back to the team of Oxygen Rising Stars, this team has been slowly but surely trying to get into the zone, but every single time they move a little bit, then they have to stop, because there are just so many teams around in the vicinity, and the minimap is absolutely colorful right now, because so many teams are alive and are trying to get themselves in the comfort of the zone from this southern region.
It is going to be players are making a move. As I just perfectly mentioned, it is going to be a tough task for teams to make a move from the southern region. It is one player from the sides of Oxygen Rising Esports that has been taken care of, and that was from the sides of Zap Canvas. So we expected the fight blotter to happen. That didn't happen 5 or 10 minutes ago, but now it is happening, as now Wiz is just trying to go into the animation. His grenade has been pulled down, but that is rebounded from that big rock, but Zedonrex has been pulled down from different direction thanks to that onslaught that has come in, not from Zap Canvas, but obviously from the sides of Martyrs 1971, and they are going on slowly and steadily with 1971 reigning supreme with the help of the LT2 that they are having for now. It is going to be 2 players from the sides of their side, and that is going to be Shadow and Ragnar. With Khalid and Serpent going down, it is also not going to be an easy task for them to make a move, but as soon as they do so, they will be good to go.
Absolutely will, and for the moment they've been able to get that 1 kill confirmed. Of course, going to be getting themselves walking away from that situation situation and getting themselves into the comfort of the zone, because it is going to be 230 meters away that they find themselves from the zone itself. And on talking about the zone, Bad Intentions are part of the fights. They are part of the kill feed again and again. They are trying to decimate, and in all of this, one more kill being confirmed for the side of Martyrs, as they have been able to stop the players of Archangels in their tracks. TREX also chiming in along with the kill feed, just completely working in that team's favor. 10 teams remain. We are 20 minutes into this fight and into this game, and finally it is TRZ chiming in to take on some perfectly set up points for themselves.
They stole the kill. They stole the kill for the sides of obviously Martyrs 1971. That was supposed to go in the favor because the knock in the favor. That means TRZ Sports are knowing their surrounding well. It's Mad Cat. All of a sudden he's finding himself in an open position. Just has that one level helmet. Level 2 West is still not enough because he will be the one that will be facing the level first defense in terms of getting things acclimated for them. But in all this situation, it is going to be a big name PMCO Sports that will be leaving the lobby with at least one kill from the numbers. But Atomic goes down in all these fights, and all of a sudden it is going to be Bad Intention that is just trying to dominate the lobby. They are trying to have an influential gameplay, and there's nothing wrong in that. But TRZ Esports, Atomic needs the revival at this very point, because we know the firepower he brings in, be it with the first half of the circle, be it with the last circle. He is the one man to have a really those responsibilities set upon. But Mamba is making sure that if it's Atomic taken down, no worry, nothing to worry about. It is going to be me that will be taking care of each and everyone. If the enemy is coming in, I'll be ready to take him down.
He most certainly will, and he most certainly has. And of course, with that, his teammates are going to push in along and just completely stop the push and rotation coming in from the side of Eccentric. And in doing so, Eccentric's player, the team, the final player of the team, is going to try and take on the players of Martyrs 1971 as TRZ push them away from this compound. And in that doing so, Eccentric's player will not be able to stand up to the parade that is being showcased from the side of Martyrs 1971. 7 teams are remaining. We have TRZ Esports right here playing to their perfection with 5 kills that they've been able to confirm. But on the other front, it is of course Bad Intentions, who slowly and steadily have been part of the kill feed again and again. And there we go. That team has already been able to accumulate 9 kills already for themselves, and they are the ones who have now brought down one of the players for TRZ.
Exactly, TRZ. One player has been again knocked down. We have to still wait to see how the revival comes and becomes the case. But for the moment, it is only Bad Intentions, really making it impossible for team, obviously Rex Skeleton, to make a move into the zone. It is not going to be an easy task, obviously, for one more team. Zap Canova, SUX goes down. The blown off vehicle really put a big dent onto the face of him, thus making him going down. But it is, as we just mentioned, Naruto and Yubi is not going to be allowing any team to flourish in the same vicinity.
Well, this team is just decimating the competition. Naruto Noob right here on our screens with 7 kills off of the 9 that the entirety of the team has, and he's still not yet done. He is still going to be punishing the team, and that's going to be none other than T-Rex Skeleton right there. That is on our screens. Another knock being confirmed. A perfect spray from the side of Naruto Noob, and in doing so, he will get another kill for himself. 8 kills confirmed for him. He was able to spot that final player from the side of the team, but eventually he knows his priorities. He needs to get into the comfort of the zone first before he can take on the fight. With that, 7 teams still remaining. 11 defeats coming in from the side of course, this team of Bad Intentions, and these intentions that they are dominating with today are absolutely demonic.
8 kills is what they are standing at the moment. One more is the team number of totality that we are getting at the moment. 11 kills is what the total team stands for them. And for Dean, just the 2 kills. He is really kill hungry. 12. There we go. The count keeps increasing as now Bad Intentions are increasing with their morale, and they are looking pretty much high on their morale with the sort of performance they are taking in. It is also Mamba that is coming in slowly and steadily. It is not going to be for a long time that Bad Intentions and TRZ won't be going head on head, as now 4 players again standing from the sides of TRZ with 7 kills into the lobby. They are trying to take this match away, but it is going to be a big task to take them down, as Bad Intentions 3 player, especially Naruto, is looking in sublime form in this match. But for the moment, it is going to be a tough task for T-Rex Skeleton to survive this onslaught. One more. There we go. 11 is the total number where Naruto is standing for the moment, and that's resulting T-Rex Skeleton getting out of the lobby.
What a play this is. Archangel's final player right here against the player of course, TRZ, and Atomic trying his elbows, and certainly will be able to decimate and bring the kill for himself. 2 kills to him, 8 in total for the team itself. And with that, we are looking at these 3 final teams remaining. We've got 4 and 5 Esports still part of this with 0 kills, but certainly working towards those placement points in the minimap. We can clearly see towards the western front, there is a small little dot, and that is going to be a perfectly set up nade on the face of Fardeen right here. Impeccable timing from the side of TRZ indeed, and that has resulted in quite an onslaught that was being showcased onto the front of Bad Intentions. And this is the moment that the team of TRZ need to push. They are working towards those revival, but if they would have moved on along at this moment, it was just a one-man squad that was left, and that was none other than Counter from the side of Bad Intentions, who was the one to be brought down. And in that, it is not looking like an easy task, because now Bad Intentions have to get into the zone itself. It is almost about 60 meters away. Talking about TRZ Esports, this team is looking absolutely perfect, because the loot has been given favor for Mad Cat as well, and all 4 players are now going to be chiming in with the brute force. Slowly but surely should be able to get this confirmed.
Darkfire is still on the back end side, and he'll making sure before that happens, Fardeen again goes down, and now the kill has been secured. TRZ Madcat with the Scarlet. He is looking mad for the moment. He is going all crazy as he's just going kill hungry, but now the grenades are being peppered down, that are being hurled onto the faces of Naruto. The best part for Bad Intention is that they are still surviving with Fallen 5. The kill has been again stolen into the favor of Bad Intention, and this is going to be a tough affair, a tough call for Bad Intentions, as now Naruto is getting a lot of shots being peppered down. Counter is finding himself into the smoke, but for how long that is going to be, he will take it care of as he now falls down. 3-4 players charging upon onto the single player from the sides of Bad Intention. That's what TRZ Esports was looking for, a high fragging game, especially for both the teams, but in that it was a numbers advantage with which TRZ Esports were going into this last match, or obviously the third last match, and into this last circle with TRZ Esports. 12 kill is what they have stand for the moment, a total of 27 points, 2,292 damage. What a game for them. I mean, the last game, they were not the one that really started the performance, but in this game, when the zone was favoring them, it was them that went into the last circle with that number advantage, and there was one big Goliath that was coming in, and that was really tough to stop them. But TRZs, there you have it.
There we go. This team is back again, and along with that, again, I mean, we spoke about the head-to-heads, and we spoke about how these two teams that find themselves on the top 8 are going to be working towards against each other, and that is exactly what this team is doing. Bad Intentions as well as, of course, TRZ Esports. In doing so, we saw Naruto Noob had 11 kills for himself. So again, a really good outing for Bad Intentions as well as, of course, TRZ Esports, as TRZ get the better half of that fight because they got the chicken dinner.
11 kill, as you perfectly mentioned. 11 is the number on which Naruto is standing for the moment. I guess I thought that he has secured one more, but this was certainly not the case. I was just expecting more from him because 11 was, I mean, that was still pretty much, I mean, 1675 damage. I mean, who on earth dishes this amount of domination? Who on earth? It's Naruto. It is Naruto this time again with 1 assist, healing than just the 400. That looks too small in terms of the damage that he was able to secure, but he was the man in form. He was the man to go from the sides of Bad Intentions, and he really made it possible for themselves. But obviously, you need to commend the guy of TRZ's Mamba. Every time TRZ's perform, it is Mamba that finds himself in the top player list. Again, we have him at that second position.
Absolutely, and again, when it comes down to the playstyle that was created in this game from the side of Bad Intentions as well as TRZ Esports, it was looking absolutely perfect. I mean, they were both playing to perfection, and of course that is what is needed at this level of the tournament, where this is the final day, the final Miramar being played in the semi-finals itself. We have Sanhok and then a final Erangel remaining, and those are the opportunities that these teams have. With that, talk about a contestation. Bad Intentions, TRZ Esports, seems like they are going to be walking away with exact 27 points. 15 kills is what Bad Intentions walked away with all thanks to Naruto Noob with 11 kills to his name. But of course, along with that, TRZ Esports chiming along with 12 kills but 15 placement points. So a terrific performance being showcased from them. But Archangels again and again finding themselves in some decent placement points. Same can be said for Fallen 5 Esports as well. Once again, they've worked towards those placement points and are going to be working and getting those then.
Points are always handy, be it with the kill, be it with placement points, whatever way it comes, it is always handy. And in doing so, it was Fallen 5 Esports that got those important 10 placement points. You remember the way the players were just surviving in that vicinity. It was not pretty much easy, but for the moment, it is going to be the Oppo F19 Pro moments that we are heading towards, and then we get to see what sort of fights that really erupted, what sort of strategies, and all these started happening eventually at the start of the game, where we got to see head-on-head fight between FOF and Bad Intentions. Intentions.
Absolutely, and this is what started the saga off in the 5-minute marker that we were part of, and it was Bad Intentions who did get a pretty good kill out of that scenario. But as we move on along, it was Toko that was brought on down right there. But as the game progressed on towards the 18-minute marker, 4th zone, this is when things were looking absolutely crazy. In the minimap, we can see Eccentric players were so destructive. It was none other than Alcohol from the side of Eccentric Esports, who was just absolutely abysmal in terms of the way he played and brought that knock and kill against the players of their opponent team. But moving on along into those fights, this is when TRZ started chiming in and just perfectly annihilated their competition one by one.
Indeed. And Bad Intentions was really making it tough for any team that was trying to make a move into the zone. They really hampered rotation of not only one team, it was also Zap Canaver that was on the back foot, and then it was Rex Skeleton that really was not able, and they succumbed to pressure. Eventually the whole squad went down and they perished as the way they did so. But then it was an all easy affair for the winning team. Obviously it was the one team that got the better half of them. The TRZ Esports are getting closer and closer, and that's where we go. TRZ Esports right there on the 3rd position with 142 points. They still have 2 matches to go, and they are looking pretty strong in order to just overpass the total points what Gremlin Storm is holding at this moment. But certainly this was one good game. The 27 total points lead will help Bad Intentions to get at the first spot that they were seeking for. But TRZs, I mean, the only team in this lobby to get 3 chicken.
Absolutely. What a play. What an aggressive play TRZ Esports have been a part of, and a synergistic play is what we are looking at from this team as well. As we move on along, it is going to be Exit Round Red Army still who are on that 11th spot, but Fallen 5 Esports, based on the points, the placement points that this team is working towards, they are steadily climbing up, and same is the case for, of course, PX Esports as well as TREX. Now 3 points shy is what the PX Esports find themselves from that 11th position.
And 3 more. If we talk about Skeleton apart from T-Rex, so totals of 6 points is what
Right.
T-Rex Skeleton needs to be in order to trespass the team obviously that was standing on the 11th position. And then there was a drop because one team is also trying to chime upon, and they are looking pretty much doable because still 15, 20 points, last 2 matches still left. I mean, they just need to go all YOLO. I mean, every sort of strategies, every sort of kills will be helping them get secure all these leads. But now it is obviously going to be time where Final Cut Esports have also getting up and up and up. 10 matches, 44 total points, but it seems that certain teams will be missing the park, and in that doing so, I mean, Oxygen Rising Star will be among one.
Absolutely, for now, but they are certainly still part of the fight. They are still kill hungry, they are still trying to dominate, and that is a good thing. That is certainly a good thing. So the will to play their perfect game is there from the side of Oxygen Rising Stars, and that is exactly what is required from a good esports athlete. But what a play this is turning out to be, what a day this is turning out to be. But talk about the top 11. I mean, when you've got the 2 teams, Bad Intentions and of course TRZ Esports, walking away with one getting 15 kills, another getting 12 kills, that's a lobby that these teams are facing
one third,
with.
27.
Yep, exactly. With that, we've got 2 games taken care of. We've got to move on to, of course, a short little break, after which will be the 3rd game on Sanhok.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust, if
Hello and welcome once again to PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021, where indeed this is going to be an amazing day because the semi-finals last day is where we find ourselves. 2 games are done. Now let's move on along with the schedule, of course, where we shall see when it comes to the play that has been made. It has been a phenomenal affair for the side of TREX Skeleton as well as TRZ Esports. So double T's coming in right there. Let's see if Sanhok will be another one following with the T team winning a chicken dinner or not.
There is one more T-Rex Power. Maybe this time they can get that chicken or not. We have to still wait for that. But obviously the team are looking pretty good at this moment. As we just talk about that, T-Rex Skeleton getting the chicken, then the TRZ. Maybe it's a day of T's where they are obviously playing it to perfection. But as
it's a lousy story. It's a lousy story. But day of T's is just a random brain burst that came in along. But it's a random story, of course. Never mind that. Never mind that thought, because when it comes to the play itself, we were talking about PX Esports, right? They were just 3 points shy of that 11th position.
Yeah.
And then we also had TREX as well, who was sitting on that 6 points away from that 11th position. So now that's the team that I want to be rooting out towards, PX Esports. PX Esports, the way that they were able to make that jump from that final page of the leaderboard onto the first page itself was perfect. But will that be the same case that we can anticipate in this game? Let's see, let's find out. Let's jump into the map of Sanhok, where the flight path is going to be dominating on our screens and will be showcasing us what to anticipate and expect from this game.
Indeed, it is going to be a one big thing that we just talk about. But the flight path already taking its way from the area of Camp Bravo and downtown, go towards the area of Nakam and Shami. Completely dissecting the 50-50 map into 2 different halves. But in yesterday's gameplay, we talk about the circle shift. I mean, the circle shift have been away from Paradise Zord, and somewhere down the line we have seen those circles along the area of Paradise Zord. In some yesterday's and day before yesterday's gameplay, we saw the circle constricted around Shami's, and then it was one team that really had a very good time that was holding a compound for a long time. In yesterday's gameplay, it was some circles that were shifting downtown towards the area of Paradise Resort, and then there was some sort of great ruckus that was created. In doing so, it's really tough for teams that really jump towards the area of Camp Bravo to make an entry into Camp Charlie, because still they make an entry. There is a lot of team that still stand on the area of along the Painan region, or if they try to make a move from the Camp Alpha, either they have to risk their life taking this bridge or to try to make a water rotation, and that certainly doesn't pay off somewhere down the line.
Absolutely. And as we talk about the teams who are going on down towards their drop locations, we can see that all the teams have found themselves a comfortable spot for themselves. When it comes down to the contestations itself, it is not looking like an easy start, or rather a very easy start is another way of looking at it, because the teams are not in the vicinity of each other, so that means they will be easily able to get the loot sorted. There will be no approach from a third party sort of a situation or being caught off guard in terms of not knowing that there was a team over there, because as we can see, all the dots have their own individual spots. From the Paradise, where we see Final Cut, right next to them is going to be, of course, PX Esports. Above them is going to be Eccentrics players. Right across them are going to be TRZ's players, and they all have their own individual separated areas that they are dealing with. But it is the zone that, of course, constricts them and gets them to move on against each other. And this time around, the zone is going to be brought onto, of course, the main island itself, where we can see that the teams that are not in the zone are only going to be 3. We've got Fallen 5, we've got Zap Canavar, and we, of course, have FOF as well from the southern region. So it's again the map of Sanhok, so rotations are going to be easy to get into the zone, but it's that moment when you are making the rotation on the map of Sanhok when things go off guard, because the teams do end up getting third-partied quite a lot, and that is exactly the approach that we see Archangels do not want to be a part of, and therefore they are making an early rotation. They were almost 750 meters away from the comfort of the zone, but have decided to get onto the vehicle and are just completely going to be jumping into the comfort of the arena itself, and this is where they have decided to go down to. Will they be stopping? It seems like they might just be stopping right here across the camp itself, and that is something that is going to be working perfectly for them, and this is just the play that was required for the side of Archangels, and eventually it is just a dominating play that we anticipated from these teams, and that is what is being showcased, where indeed Zap is on our screens right now with 1,000 meters to go. That is a long ways away that this team needs to be able to make a rotation as well. But eventually, again, the map being Sanhok, it is going to be absolutely perfect for them, and no contestations can be anticipated from the side of Zap for now. And in that, moving on back to the team of Archangels, they have moved on into the camp itself, and they are going to be absolutely looting and completely getting their loot perfectly set up. What a perfect turn of events indeed, where there is nobody on towards that camp. Interesting.
Indeed it is. I mean, it's not only that area, it's also boot camp that has been completely left vacant, and I mean, 9 out of 10 times it is completely being contested, and there is just one game where you don't see anybody there. That's just completely isolated. A deserted place is where we're getting to see. That only means one thing: the teams are not looking to take up the fight, and this is one thing that will be taking the match in its own course, and the match will be getting for a long time, as now MARTYRS 1971 has now sort of spotted down the players of PX Esports. I mean, they have spotted on the players, but the players from the sides of 1971s don't really have a good gears. If we talk about the helmets and vest, talk about Serpent, he doesn't even have the helmet or the vest, not even level 1, not even the bandages, nothing to do so not indulging into the fight will be the one good advice that the IGLs and the teams will be and knows for them. But as you just mentioned about that, Camp Charlie is where TT Archangels are finding themselves, and some big cities talk about boot camp, talk about Hatin, talk about Camp Charlie. Since now Camp Charlie is being contested by Archangels, but that intent was certainly not shown in the early stage of the game where the player went for the drop.
Well, this has to be a first, most certainly, of all the games that I've casted. This has to be a first for me, because it is going to be Camp Bravo where there is absolutely nobody. And again, when it came down to Camp Charlie, it is then made on the rotation that the team of Archangels found themselves in that area. But apart from that, I mean, there was absolutely nobody there. So an interesting play being showcased. Talking about Hutton, we do see most of the time CRZ players drop on towards that area, or close to that area is rather what we see the team get down towards Hutton. But this time around, that is not going to be the case, as the team has gotten themselves separately set up on towards Totmok and of course Paradise Resort itself. And Paradise Resort, initially we did have, of course, players of Eccentric very close to the arena, but now they have moved away from that situation, and in doing so, they are going to be in close proximity to the players of Final Cut. And Eccentric Infinity taking on the players of Final Cut, and the only thing separating them is going to be, well, they are in the compound, and again, when it comes to their opponents, they perhaps seemingly are going to be up top onto the ridge right behind Eccentric's position. And yes, that is exactly the case, as Alcohol makes that push to get in the comfort of his teammate. That is not going to be allowed, because right behind him was Final Cut's player, and Final Cut are certainly going to be bringing in that destruction to the face of this team. That Eccentric is going to retaliate and try and bring down the players, as well as one player has been knocked from the side of Final Cut as well. And in that doing so, Viper is going to be chiming in along, and this is just a completely destructive play against the players of Eccentric that Final Cut has been able to create. And in that, they've got one kill confirmed for themselves for their own players and teammates. They have just that one knock, but no player or no teammate lost to the cause. So that is a GG play that has been showcased from Final Cut, and of course it was Eccentric that sadly were caught off guard.
Exactly, I mean, they were just caught off guard, and thus resulting them finding themselves into just a 3-player surviving, where the error pretty much close to where the other players are, but shot. I mean, he is holding some different angles, and from this different direction, he can actually surprise the player, where Eccentric Infinity can just not expect from them. But on to different tangent, it is the him player that has really outplayed the players. He knew that the hut is on a different sort of structuration, and thus resulting that there is some sort of space. But I mean, when he is having those sort of IQ gameplays, this was such a rookie mistake that I just cannot expect. And one more team, one more player goes on the same different direction, but the prone shot comes into action at the right point, at the right time. And is the revival being the case? Yes, it is going to be. Just saver up an HP. He was a lucky guy.
Absolutely, but with that we move on to another fight yet again, where indeed it is going to be none other than Oxygen Rising Star taking on the players of FOF BadBlood, and doing so, they are absolutely penciling down the players of FOF BadBlood. One more player has been knocked. The final player, Dadil, is the one who is remaining, and eventually as he tries to take a first aid in front of his opponents, he's most certainly not going to be allowed to do that. And right off the bat, it is another team that's going to be Oxygen Rising Star confirming 4 points for themselves as well. We are 7.5, pretty much 8 minutes into the game, and things are looking pretty good for these teams as they are taking on those fights. Those fights are certainly giving them not only a point or two, but entire 4 points for themselves, because they are just annihilating their competition. And the team that they are going to be going up against. Now moving on along with the zone itself, it is going to be an interesting affair. When the zone shifts, where exactly will it be? PX Esports find themselves yet again in the center of the zone. TRZ this time around have found themselves at the edge and are going to be keeping themselves in the Paradise Resort for the moment. On the other front, it is going to be TREX Power that is taking on the shots, but TREX Power is taking on the shots to who? It is none other than Bad Intentions down towards the boot camp region.
If you're taking the fight, make sure that you are knowing which sort of enemy it is. I'm sure that the teams must not be knowing, because the one kill hasn't been with the case, but since it is going to be the Bad Intentions, they won't just let that onslaught coming in. Rather, they would retaliate, and in that fashion, if that happens, it is going to be the Team Rex Power that will be getting the onslaught of it. But since the circle is going for a shift again and again, it is going to be the southern side, obviously, maybe towards the area of Bhan or Lakavi or Query, where the circle might shift, and that happens. If that happens, teams will be getting the favor of, but we have to still wait for that, if that happens or not. But on a different tangent, it is going to be TRZ that is also on a run. They are also on a move, as now Mamba, Atomic, everyone is just moving slowly and steadily. With the Martyrs 1971, it's been a long case where they have been steadily holding all these compounds and all those ridges onto the eastern shore. It has been a long time that they now need to realize that they have to make a move on to different tangent. It is going to be one team, Fallen 5 Esports, that are still onto the Camp Alpha Island, and once the circle goes for a shift, maybe then they make a push. But if that happens, and when they do so, it will be a very, very, very long rotation.
It certainly is looking like a very long rotation indeed. I mean, they have made a complete U-turn from where they were and the circle being right in front of them to where they are now, and how they are planning on getting into the zone. And that is, again, I mean, certainly might work in their favor, because the way they might enter is perhaps behind Paradise Resort, and there is absolutely no team to contest them for that rotation. And this is where the fight was erupting, and it was none other than TREX Power trying to take on the players of none other than Bad Intentions. Now, this is an interesting fight that can go all across the board. All craziness can be showcased from this, because it is a humongous area to create those flank angles as well. The teams have to be well equipped and prepped and absolutely be on point in terms of their precise positioning and skill, and that is something that we know Bad Intentions does so perfectly. But for now, 10.5 minutes in, it is going to be Bad Intentions moving on to a different area altogether, and as they do so, they are now going from TREX Power towards the placement of TREX Skeleton, from what it seems.
Indeed it is. They are moving down slowly and steadily. I just get to see. But in doing so, it is going to be TREX Power that have now made a move from the eastern side. They are holding the edge of the circle, and also making sure Shimantor is the one that is checking the back flank angle. But Bad Intentions are on a move counter, pretty much close to where are obviously one team that is going to be Rex Skeleton is present there, and this is not looking good, as one team, one player has gone down, and certainly one kill has been favored, has been given down, but counter all of a sudden has disappeared from this lobby. That makes Bad Intention thus the 3 men strong. How are they going to be retreating? How are they going to be retaliating? There are two different facets of this conversation, but it seems that Bad Intentions are not one team that won't seek the vengeance. Rather, they will retaliate with 2 times of the brute force that they have for the moment, as now the player are going for the rotations, and those movements are going down, but are being duly noted by the rest of the player from the sides of Rex Skeleton.
Absolutely is, and Bad Intentions certainly not on to a good start right now. I mean, they are up against the 2 Ts. What are the chances? What are the chances, Ankit? It was TREX Power that were the ones who were bringing on an onslaught against the players of Bad Intentions, and then Bad Intentions fall back from that rotation, make another rotation, and then find themselves another TREX that is going to be Skeleton. So it seems like the T's are working, and they certainly are bringing in a different play. Even though it seemed like a lousy statement to make in the pre-game segment, it certainly seems to have stuck, and the PUBG gods have heard, and it might just be the case that the T's might just get a complete onslaught.
One more T. Erangel, they are holding the Lakavi area, and it seems that they are moving in the circle without loss of the players. And if that happens, there is going to be one more thing that we'll need to look about. But for the moment, it is going to be TREX Skeleton that for the moment have made a real big dent. And since they are making a move, it is also going to be the southwestern team from the sides of Erangels that are going into the circle slowly and steadily, with PX Esports getting a better half of the central lines of the circle with all the compounds and all those ridges. There is not a lot of ridges, but still enough to play along and play alongside with is gonna be the conversation that we want to talk about. But Fallen 5 again, they are making a move. Certainly the area of Painan is where they have chosen for now. They had 3 options to come in, but certainly they chose that one option that they are feeling safe for the moment. But now TREX Skeleton are facing the heat as now Rock OP has spotted him down. Rock OP has been brought down to 60 HP, but in doing so Senior has also gotten a lot of shots, and his helmet, it seems, has been bruised 50%.
Absolutely has, and it is of course none other than TREX Power taking on the players of TREX Skeleton, and TREX Skeleton otherwise are also doing the exact same thing, are certainly going to be walking on towards getting those points confirmed. Did stop bad intentions in their track, and eventually now are going to do the exact same thing to TREX Power or not. We shall have to see. Third airdrop being dropped on. Along with that, it is Final Cut who find themselves out in the open. This was a team who was able to participate in the kill department, were able to confirm a complete team annihilation. 4 kills had been confirmed from their side, but now as they move on towards the comfort of the zone itself, they are trying to look on towards the audio cues that are being showcased from the side of course, TREX Power against the players of TREX Skeleton, and that is what Final Cut is listening to, and that is something that they want to be retaliating against.
Exactly, they are returning to his best as now Fallen Cult Esports, they are indulging themselves in a long-range fight, but in doing so, obviously one player has got a lot of shots, and we can get to see he is bleeding up slowly and steadily. One shot needs the revival. He will be the revival, given the revival, but in different tangent. The player are in a 2-2 different split. That means Genesis and along with him Viper needs to make sure that they don't go down. The knock is not there in the favor, but if it happens, the team will be then unsettled. And which team is actually pinning them down? It seems that it is going to be TRZ Esports that is chiming upon, that is stepping up into the same vicinity, as now they are ready to blow up the vessel. Last game, TRZ Esports got a wonderful chicken there in the favor, and then it was an all easy affair for them till now, because they have found themselves away from all these fights and sitting in the comfort of the zone is where they are looking for the moment. And not only that, they are putting a big dent onto the face, onto the head, onto the chest, and just because of that, confused whole, I mean complete red is what we are getting to see on his vest.
Well. Talk about skills. Talk about just getting spotting and then just completely annihilating. That is what TRZ Esports are so very good at. I mean, they were being fired on upon from Confused right here, but as soon as they heard those shots coming in from the side, they exactly knew where the player was and were so on point to bring Confused HP down as well. And with that, his vest is absolutely void. It's certainly not going to be favoring him or helping him for now. Talking about the zone itself, the zone is going to move on towards a team that is going to be T, and that is going to be none other than Archangels. So the T story is going to continue for the game, it seems like, and it is going to be Bad Intentions who again find themselves at the edge of the zone.
Edge of the zone is where Zap Canavar is also there. Edge of the circle is also where Bad Intentions. Edge is also being held by PX Esports, as now multiple teams have to make and converge themselves into zone, and in that it is going to be a tough task for TRZ Esports. In the last game itself they got the chicken, but this time it seems that other teams are really getting a good shy of the hands on that 15 important placement points, but they really do have a good chance in order to get a lot of kill points, because a lot of player is still available in the lobby. It's just the 2 team that have left, and it's just the 1 player from the side of Bad Intentions. Apart from that, there is no head-to-head fight, and we just expected, we preempted that the match will be on a slow start. There we have, and now since the circle has gone for a shift, now the player that will be craving for all those spaces will be finding themselves in those skirmishes, and some squabble might erupt onto the western side, where Bad Intentions might be pulled down from the backhand side. But does Bad Intentions know, or it is going to be TREX Power? Do they know? The questions will be answered in a moment.
Absolutely will be, and in that it is going to be TREX Power's players who are at the receiving front, not looking too good, because Bad Intentions certainly seem to have taken a push against them, and it is going to be of course Hitman, who has been brought down to almost 20% hit free, and the dude who was dropped was none other than RJ, and a nade being paraded against the perfect play of this team of Bad Intention. It seems like Serpent. No, it is going to be a perfect intention coming in from the side of the opponent team, and that is going to be Hitman, who is going to completely decimate Winter. But in doing so, TREX Skeleton chiming along with a third-party approach and are going to be stealing the kills away from the side of Bad Intentions for the moment. And it is TREX Skeleton reigning in supreme from 1 kill to the next. They have been able to collect so many of those kills that Bad Intentions had dropped.
We expected the team to go head on head 10 minutes before, but now since the circle has made a push and this resulting them finding themselves in a spot, and in all these doing so, it is going to be the TREX power that in a sandwich situation, because from the front they cannot move. It's a big team, Bad Intentions. From the back it is going to be a complete engulf from the sides of TREX power, that is TREX skeleton, that is also not allowing them to make a move into the zone, and in doing so it is going to be TREX power that has been completely sandwich situation. But in doing so, it is also Fallen 5 Esports that are now falling slowly and steadily as Darkfire goes down, thanks to that onslaught that is coming in from the sides of Martyrs, with Khalid going strong. We remember Khalid in the first game of Erangel where he got a lot of kills and he was the X factor that was holding the team completely in a sublime form, but it seems that he is the one-man army at this moment with no kill whatsoever. Khalid is waiting to open his bank account for the moment.
He most certainly is trying his level best to do so. On the other front, it is going to be now Bad Intentions who find themselves in a little bit of that tricky position, because it is going to be the edge of the zone, yes, but it is also going to be, of course, the blue zone. That's certainly not going to be favoring them. Talking about TRZ, it is Rare chiming in along to take on the players of Final Cut, and right here when we come back to his MARTYRS 1971, this dude is just completely decimating the players of Fallen 5, where 2 sprays he was able to make and just 10 HP is remaining, which will not be enough to help him to the cause, which will not be enough to give him that kill for himself and that point to his team. But right now it is TRZ Esports, who we did see chiming along against the players of Final Cut, have finally been able to confirm the 2 kills against the players of Final Cut, and what a play this team of TREX is making, my apologies, TRZ is making, as they move in to the comfort of the zone. 70 meters is what they have to cross, and PX going to be very close to Fallen 5, is certainly going to be annihilating them based on just the nade parade that is being showcased from that team, and along with that, Rex also chiming in, and it is Senior once again with those nades who was able to give a lot of damage to Fallen 5.
MG3. the light machine gun is in the hand of Viper. What sort of dominance he can bring in this game of Sanhok? This is still a big question of waited, and he needs to show up because it's one big team that is coming in from the backhand side. It's not going to be an easy task, as now TRZ Esports are on a charge, just trying to create that flank angle with the help of those smokes. Mr. Red is trying to take the TPP, but as soon as he comes into the zone, it is going to be Viper that will be welcoming him with the help of that MG3, and there we go, the MG3 into action, and Mr. Rare has been taken care of, but in doing so, he has not only taken the players down, but also given away his position, and that means he will be taken down for sure.
Absolutely, and it is going to be Final Cut's player who was brought down, and now it is going to be Confused, the player remaining. He will try and get that revival, but will it be enough? It seems like no, he's going for the kill for the moment, and that is going to be from the side of TRZ's Mamba, and he is just absolutely not wanting to let Rare go from the looks of it. He is going to try and cover the situation before he jumps into the area itself. We've got 8 teams remaining. Still, TRZ are not in the comfort of the zone. They still have to manage to complete 65 meters, and this is not going to be easy because we've got 8 teams in the entirety of this vicinity, and they all are also trying to be destructive, and that is something that we this time around can bring in favor of PX Esports as well, because PX Esports are looking at kill hungry team with 6 kills confirmed for themselves, and the conversation for Oxygen Rising Star is also looking pretty neat with 5 kills to their name.
Exactly, I mean, they are looking strong at this moment. They are looking sublime at this moment, as now they are moving towards the end part of the circle. It's just a 21 minutes of circle, and now the fight has started erupting. Mad Cat not realizing the fact that he has given away a lot of his positioning, and that gave an opportunity, an invitation for obviously Confused to take him down, and thus one player has been knocked down. Revival will be again one case that Mr. Rare will be taking care of, but before that happens, the players are really trying to steal the kill, but before that happens, it is only Atomic that is trying to check his back, and he is making sure that all the players from the back front side will be taken down, as now Confused is surviving. He's using the first aid, but just the... Okay, the blue has not taken him down. Rather, it is gonna be Bad Intentions that all of a sudden has came up, and it really surprised me.
Well, Bad Intentions certainly taking on the kills from the side of TRZ Esports is what this is turning out to be. Zap right here on our screens, where it is Wiz who is trying to dominate against the players of Oxygen Rising Star, but in doing so, he's gonna have to be very, very careful as well, because right behind him there's one final player of Oxygen Esports, and that is none other than Zan right here. And Zan, even though he's in the blue zone, is wanting to take on the kills for himself, and in that perfect play was being brought down from the player of Zap Canawar. We've got 5 teams remaining. Sedative the final player, and not for long, because it is going to be Archangel's player who will bring him down. And in that conversation, we are left with just 3 teams remaining. We've got Bad Intentions, that's Naruto Noob right here, along with which, as we move on towards the team of course, Archangels, there is just this one final player remaining. That's going to be Stranger, and he has that one first aid that he's going to be popping right about now, and it is going to be PX Esports that I was wanting to see perfectly bring in a game for themselves, and that is exactly what they've done. With 9 kills already, with all 4 players alive, this team is going to be reigning supreme against the players that are remaining in the lobby, because it is going to be Archangel's player who has been dropped on. So now it is a 4v1v1.
Exactly, 4v1v1. And in that doing so, Naruto is just trying really hard to take the players down from the side of PXC. But Showman has gone down, and it was the time where Nier was trying to keep the revival, but realizing the situation that he is giving away a lot of his positioning. The bag has been brought down from his back, but Venom is really doing the 16 first aid. He is being the doctor for the moment, as now 16 first aid is really helping him to get closer and closer toward the 12 point at least, or maybe what sort of thing that he has in this bag. But slowly and steadily he is using all the first aid. 14 comes down to 13, 13 will comes down to 12, but in doing so it is Naruto that has been taken care of, thus resulting and remaining is the only one team, the 3 players, Nier, Heaven and Chiku, all the 3 surviving in the same vicinity. Skill number is also working in a decent way. 11 is total that they have for the now. Bad Intentions made an exit with 8 total kill points, and Venom is the one that will be just elongating this match for a long time, as now 9th first aid and then 8, then 6. The countdown will begin slowly and steadily, but as soon as the 9th zone will be kicking in, it will be really an impossible task for him to get those first aid. He's just wasting all the times. He's just using all the first aid, and this is a valiant effort. This is the club open, ladies and gentlemen, that we talk about. All these valiant efforts, all these strategies are just being used, and now it's us who know that it's just the 3 players surviving, but it's not Venom that is knowing that's the last player surviving for the sides of PX Esports. On the other hand side, PX Esports, all the 3 players are just milling around, just having some joyous time, maybe throw some emotes. We just talk about this team, and he is obviously the 1 player surviving from his side, just doing the heal battle. And PX Esports, it seems that they have sensed the chicken. They know that is certain 1 player that is doing the heal battle out of this zone, and it's Venom. These last first stage 3 will eventually reduce to 2, 2 to 1, and 1 then eventually will lead him to go down. And it seems that PX Esports 5 plus 4 plus 2 obviously will be resulting in a total of 11 kill is what they will be taking away from this match, or eventually maybe 1 valiant effort from his side might be himself getting that 1 final emote. And there we go, Venom just throwing that emote and some dancing action, thus resulting him falling down and getting the important 12 placement points that will be surely helping for TT Archangels.
Well, what a play indeed from the side of PX Esports. This team is back in the second last game of the day. This team is back on to the overall 8th position is what they will shift to, with 11 kills, 1583 damage dished out, 26 points in total, broken in favor of PX Esports. A perfect domination was showcased from the side of this team. Bad Intentions were certainly there, with them also getting some decent amount of kills, but of course PX Esports had the numbers advantage, had the circle working in their favor, and the synergy control that they had completely obliterated all the teams that they went through. But a perfect spot. I mean, couldn't have had, or rather asked for, a better game.
Exactly. I mean, PX Esports, the way they finished the day 4 of Wildcard, that was looking gobsmackingly well. But in these 3 games, I mean, this was bound to happen. And Heaven, being the valuable player for the moment, he is the man of the moment with that MVP title of 5 kills, 803 damage, survival time of 24 minutes and 2 seconds. And every time these teams play on the game of Sanhok, they look so stunningly well. It was eventually them that started getting that chicken itself in the game of Sanhok on day 4, and then it's day 6, the final day for each and every team, and then we will get to see the top 11 that will be aggressing. And before that happens, it is going to be the match summary where we're getting to see a lot of PX players, and certainly it is going to be the players from the sides of PX Heaven that has got the highest damage, and obviously him securing themselves in the highest kill and the longest distance kill also find himself into that same column.
Absolutely a perfect start working in the dude's favor. Moving on to the match rank in itself, it is PX Esports walking away with those 26 total points from this 1 game, thus giving an overall 8th position is where they are at, and 1 more game is still remaining. Bad Intentions had a decent outing as well, and again when it came down to Eccentric Infinity, did not perform the way they hoped for. They were caught completely, and of course that resulted in them getting no point whatsoever at all, and thus concludes the match ranking. As we move on through with the Oppo F19 Pro moments, that will again summarize these perfect plays that were showcased from so many of these teams. I mean, the way that the game was showcased from the entirety of the lobby was looking absolutely perfect.
It was so perfect to mention. 6 minutes 19 seconds is where the fight started happening with Final Cut Esports, and this was a very good knock that came into the favor, and Alcohol went down. His leg was spotted down, and all the leads was peppered down on his leg, resulting him thrown away from this lobby. And then it was Oxygen Rising Stars that was trying to rise down and rise above all those ashes, and then it was Rex Hinton that was also chiming in from slowly and steadily from northern side. And then Martyrs, this was one good fight taken. He did 1v2, but then it was FOF BadBlood that was the third player surviving and that took care of him. And then it was Archangel's Venom. 16 first hit is what he had, and he really had a very valiant effort. He really made it sure that he will be getting those important 12 placement points, because at the end of the day, we have seen how close the overall ranking is there. At the end of the day, some teams might be faltering down with certain 2 or 3 or 4 points, and in that doing so, Venom made it sure that he will be getting those important points, and that will be helping the course of the team. All in all, it was a very good game, but Bad Intentions now really securing their lead. 185 total points is where they're standing. They really have a good chance to make a total of 200.
They certainly do in the final game that is remaining for the day. But on the other front, it is going to be PX Esports who jump up to that 8th spot with the second team to get 3 chicken dinners. This is going to be absolutely perfect play and perfect approach from the side of PX Esports. And as we move on through the list, it is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon who find themselves on that 97 point with the 11th position for themselves. And again, the contestation is only 2 points shy because TREX Skeleton are on 95 points.
I mean, this is looking too cheeky. I mean, talk about the team and the placement points. Just the 3 and 4 point difference between them and the team sitting at the 11th positioning points. A lot of teams really have a good chance to get closer towards the top 11. And if that happens, some teams really have to, I mean, just slip away from the top 11, because at the end, top 11 will be progressing. And in doing so, somewhere down the line, Martyrs 1971 really had a good day today where they were making a good fight. We just talk about those fights that was taken down. Khalid was the man from 1971 side that took the 1v2 affair, and that was so good to watch. I mean, they know that they are in a precarious position and the qualification is pretty much impossible for the moment, but they are just not going down. The morale is high, they are pretty much confident, and that's where they are taking the fight.
Absolutely, and that is going to be very, very much required as well, because this is not the only tournament that these teams will participate in. From one to the next, they will keep on continuing with their journey, and that is what is going to, of course, be questioned. That well, if they do not play that sort of a synergistic play, then that will be questioned in the playstyle that and the attitude that the team plays with. But with that, we've got one final game remaining. We are going to be jumping into Erangel, but before we do so, it is time for that short break. We'll be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust, you know
Here we go now.
Hello and welcome once again to, of course, PUBG Mobile Club Open for the region of this Bangladesh, and it has been phenomenal. We've got one more game remaining, but before we jump into that, let's bring up the overall standings, where indeed we're going to be looking at some really good stats. So yes, in the first we can see that PX Esports has been able to sustain and get themselves on the earth spot with 119 points. Good. But move on to the next page. As we move on to the next page, this is where things get interesting, Ankit.
95 is where Skeleton is there, and Nextron Red Army getting rid of all the 12 matches. Just the 1 point is where they will be standing, and since the kill number is there, they will be eventually trespassing them. And it is the case where TT Archangels also have a time 4 point. I mean, this is looking so great. I mean, Zap Canavar also have a good time. Just the 8 point. A lot of team already onto the favor. And talk about Fallen 5. Just imagine out of these 4 teams, at least 2 will be there. That's what I expect.
Exactly. Absolutely. That is so true indeed. With that, let's move on to the schedule and have a look at, of course, we've got one final game remaining. That's going to be on Erangel. And now we are going to be jumping right into the match itself, where the flight path is going to be showcasing what to expect from this fight. But again, to showcase that overall ranking was very crucial. We did bring in the T conversation. The T's is what the game is going to be about now, because after all, when it comes down to this game, the T's are the ones who are going to be contesting. We've got, of course, as Ankit mentioned, T4 Archangels, as well as, of course, TREX right there, are the teams who can very well jump in to take that 11th slot. But we shall have to see which team will it be.
Fallen 5 also, if we just extend that probability, they also have a good chance. But in doing so, there is going to be 4 teams, obviously, till the 16, from obviously 12 to 16, there is 4 teams. And at certain point of time, there will be certain team that will be getting those points up. But I'll have my straight eye set upon the TT Archangels, finding themselves into the Nova Up Night, just the 2 total points. If they make it, that will be an equal point share. And since the kill number is there, even if they take away the 2 points at least, they will be the one that will be making it through. But obviously, to be on a safer side, 3 at least point is what they need to secure, and for the moment it is going to be the circle that is favoring each and everyone apart from Nova Rupnoy area, and certain curve wall has been thrown away right off the go towards the players of TT Archangels. And then we have team like T-Rex Power onto the area of Georgia Pool. But where is the team of, obviously, that is going to be of T-Rex Skeleton? Seems that they are now in a complete fanned out approach from the area of northern side, where the shelter compounds are there, towards the Stolber Hill. I mean, what sort of strategy is being there? I mean, does this survival strategy?
Well,
just one player maybe?
It could be. It could very well be. But talking about Yasnaya Poliana right here, we do have a lot of teams. We've got Fallen 5 right there. Across the board, we of course do have Rex as well. That's going to be Rex Skeleton, who have fanned themselves out across in this approach. On the other tangent, it is also going to be Zap Kanawa, who have themselves segregated in towards that region. So a lot of teams that are into the Yasnaya, that are of course over there, that will be able to take a first fight right here. But will that be enough? We shall have to see, because there are 3 teams there, yes, but who will be the one who will take on a fight for the moment? As we move on along towards the team that I was just mentioning, it is going to be Zapanawa, who find themselves in this Yasnaya region, very much close to their proximity. Is going to be opponent team as well, but have they spotted each other? It is going to be, of course, the team of TRZ as well, who are in the same exact vicinity. This is not looking good. This is not looking easy for the side of Zap Kanawa, because this team that they're going to be facing is so very dominating. We've seen TRZs play again and again, and that team is a behemoth, a destructive force to be reckoned with, and that is what they do every single time they're part of the lobby. And this time around, as they've jumped on down towards the region of course, Yasnaya, things are looking pretty bleak for the side of Zap Kanawa.
Exactly, Zap Kanawa, they really need all these important points at the start of the game, but it is going to be TRZ, man. Now, the team TRZ have 2 sort of drop locations. One, they go towards the area of Primorsk, and other being the Yasnaya Poliana, just in case if the flight path doesn't actually allows them to do so. It's the exact same place where they love to go towards, and that's where, I mean, Zap Canavar is also finding themselves, and some players from the sides of Fallen 5 is also present there in the same vicinity, and we might get to see some fights erupting. For the moment, it is Mad Cat that knows that some players are in the same vicinity. He is holding the TPP advantage for the moment, but he is just not over-aggressing. Maybe just waiting to get those opening knocks, and then we might get to see those things getting settled for them. But for the moment, Zap Canavar, as you perfectly mentioned, I mean, they still have a chance. They still have a chance, but that effort needs to be pretty much valiant and Herculean in order to get those important 15-16 points total, and that seems pretty much difficult in this lobby, where the teams that are still on the top just not satisfied enough. Talking about TREX, obviously TRZ's bad intention that are still going hungry for all these kills. But moving on to that, it is going to be Zap Canover that we are still getting to see. The players are now falling back, but now they are in an open situation. Wheat Farm is where they have to pass away from that, and then they might be getting all those vehicles spawned around those NHs, and then they might find themselves in a centralized position. But apart from that, we are off to a slow start. Jasna Poliana, 3 teams already there, but no fight whatsoever.
Absolutely. For now, there is absolutely no fight being taken on from those teams, but eventually it's only a matter of time, because we have TRZ right there, and that team, of course, will not allow any of the other teams to be able to rotate out of there without giving TRZ some points to get their kill-hungry stomach covered up. But eventually, when it comes down to the play style itself, it is once again PX Esports who find themselves pretty much in the comfort of the zone as well as in the center of the zone. So that is going to be looking really, really good for the side of that team. Eccentric once again move on down towards the Zarki rotation that they do love and love to make every single time. This time around, the circle is also going to be a bit closer to their positioning, and that certainly will be absolutely fine in terms of their placement. But as the game progresses on along, this is where on towards the southern front, on towards the military base itself, we are looking at Final Cut that find themselves on the military base, and on the other tangent, Martyrs 1971 seem to be making a rotation away from that bridge itself of that military base, but no Repnoy bridge. But as they do so, the bad intentions is, from the looks of it, going to be waiting exactly there from Milta region, and this team might actually be pinched down if Martyrs 1971 are not careful.
Indeed, that can certainly be the case. You perfectly mentioned, pretty much close to where they are there, and bad intentions must be going kill hungry, as we are getting to see bad intentions. The player are going to formation, they are making the rotation in the closer vicinity, and then it will again Khalid. Will he bring the X factor if being onslaughted? And since now they are being peppered by bullets, they are trying to retaliate. But since bad intentions players are in a motion, it seems that obviously this fight might erupt at any moment. We can get to see, but for the moment it is them that are falling themselves away from this situation, and they are going away from the this is certainly going to be the case.
Absolutely, and this is where things are going to get a little crazy for indeed, because Martyrs are the ones who have, well, gotten Jacob knocked for the moment. It is going to be bad intentions. Winter knocked for the moment. It is a 3v3 situation between the players of course, Martyrs 1971 against the players of bad intentions. And in all of this, it could be an annihilating play that could be anticipated from the side of Martyrs, because after all, it is bad intentions that they are facing, but nothing taken away from the side of Martyrs as well, because they have showcased some strategic plays from their side, and this is something that can favor them if they play their cards right, if they are absolutely perfect in terms of their sprays and their tap shots. But it is going to be bad intentions who will just confirm that kill and now get in closer to the compound of Martyrs to completely annihilate them, and that is going to be a destructive force that you are going to be seeing right here. That is going to be in the name of bad intentions indeed, and as they do try and create this perfect spray and push, they have just completely flanked themselves onto this entire compound. What a perfect team this is, what a synergistic team this is, where every single time they play their cards, every point they are absolutely to perfection, and in that doing so, this team of Martyrs 1971 have been caught and sadly spotted making that rotation from the military base from the Nova Repnoy bridge itself. And now it is going to be Naruto Noob and perfectly set up nade that will not be giving any damage right now. Counter has already set himself up on towards a completely different flank approach, so that if at all Martyrs 1971 try and even want to retaliate or get fall back, they will not be allowed to do so, because Counter is going to be right there. But what a play! Wait, what? Counter has tried to take on a fight, but it was Shadow from the side of Martyrs who was absolutely able to pincer down the player of bad intention, and that was on the flank angle. And now, of course, his teammate is going to be jumping into the arena, and that's going to be none other than Fardeen, who will try and take the fight, or rather not take the fight, but give that revival first things first. But now this is the moment where Shadow needs to be careful. I mean, he has spent already 3 nades on the exact same trajectory. You should always be working towards a angle, at least a 60-degree angle across the entire board, to be able to work towards wherever the team, the fallen nade is, that should be at least 10 to 15 meters away from the nade that previously fell down. But eventually, again, the nades are certainly not going to be favoring this team of Martyrs, and it is going to be a perfect turn of events for the side of bad intentions. because they will be able to get that revival on their teammate, and now the zone has actually walked away from them as well, and this is not looking too good because after all, when it comes down to the play style that Bad Intentions love to do, they like to absolutely completely pincer down their opponents and bring in those kills, take care of the entire team and then move out. And this time around it seems like that is not going to be the case because Martyrs 1971 are absolutely committed to this fight, and it is going to be Winter who will certainly not be allowed to live long, because eventually that perfect 6x being brought on to the arena is going to help Shadow take that kill away, and thus it is certainly going to be a 3v3 affair is what Martyrs 1971 have now brought Bad Intentions down to. An amazing turnover wins is what this team has showcased, but eventually in doing so, it is not looking so easy, because when it comes down to the kill department, well, yes, it is absolutely fair and square. It is a 1 point shared between both of them, but when it comes down to the teammates, we can see that the utilities are certainly going to be dwindling, and it is Shadow who has the three first aids along with, of course, the bandages, but the teammates do not have any of that, and that is not going to be favoring the teammates, and that is the reason why we do see Shadow right here. But on the other front, the two other teammates that are of course going to be Jacob as well as Ragnar are going to move into the zone. We can see the edge of the zone right there, and that is something that of course for now is going to be favoring this side, but for how long we shall have to see what sort of a performance that team is going to be making against the rotation of Bad Intentions.
Exactly, as you just mentioned, Bad Intentions making the rotation. They were caught in the open, but since Oxygen Rising Star are playing down the players of TT Archangels, they really needed all the three players, four players standing, but it is them that is being started on, and Venom caught in the open. Xenorix will be taking care of him, as now the fight is starting erupting, and this is on to an aggressive start as a contrast to what we saw in the very first game. This is onto some different tangent, and we're getting to see the players are getting revived, and one early kill, that means the player has been secured. And as we just perfectly mentioned, Winter is the one that has been taken care of in the very early stage of the game, and Bad Intentions are now on a move with TT Archangels coming in. It is going to be Robin Hood that has now started retaliating onto the players of Oxygen Stars, Rising Stars, and it seems that the Rising Stars might be just shut down for a moment or so, as now they are just trying to take the fight. They are retaliating in retaliating fashion. It resulted him going down, as now Boom Twice has been knocked down for the moment, but then again Robin Hood then again tried. What a valiant effort coming in, but was in vain, as now players are going down slowly and steadily, and it seemed that TT Archangels, the future is looking bleak. If they need to qualify, they need all these placement points, they need all these kills. It's just the one. If they face an elevation here, it can be a game end for them onto the inside. It is Oxygen Rising Star that they are playing aggressively and passively on the both front, with one player obviously standing out there at the top. He's trying to get all the flank angles be covered down, but certainly this is one thing that TT Archangels need to take care of, is the revivals. But will each and every player will get the revival? That is certainly going to be the question of the hour. It seems that Robin Hood will be taken care of, and one player will bleed off, as now Blue Zone will be hitting them, and it's a double whammy situation for TT Archangels. Losing upon to the players and falling down maybe by the brunt of the Blue Zone is certainly not the way the fight should erupt.
Well, that was so perfectly spread again from the side of Stranger indeed, as he was able to bring down the player and of course confirm that kill as well. So now it has turned into an equal fight, where it is a 2v2 situation from the looks of it, where of course we do have two players remaining from the side of Archangels, Stranger and his teammate, along with Oxygen Rising Stars, two players. That is going to be Zan and his teammate Skyopi as well. But for now, of course, the team of Archangels know what the priority is. When it comes to the zone is where you need to be. You need to be within the circle itself and not out in the blue zone, and that is something that they are going to be working towards. Same, of course, hopefully will be the conversation that Oxygen Rising Stars will be showcasing, as they are still able to get into the comfort of the zone. Now, Archangels, well, they get away from that area, but the rotation that they are making, will that be making anything against their positioning, because they have moved on into the Pochinki, and of course for now we can see in the mini-map that there aren't any more teams around in the area and the vicinity, and so that is going to be working for that team's favor. On the other front, talking about Oxygen's players, now finally after having looted, they are going to be moving into the comfort of the zone, and they should be able to of course get themselves acclimatized as well. But if they jump onto the exact same area towards Pochinki, the fight will probably continue on to linger across in Archangels as well as of course Oxygen Rising Star. But on the other front of the map altogether, it is Bad Intentions now timing in and taking some fights.
Indeed, it is going to be Bad Intentions taking the fight, but Zap Canver on to different side. They are holding the compound, and they have made sure that they are not be indulging in the fight in this match, for particularly because they want all these important points, important fights, and those important kills will be eventually helping them secure more and more lead. With Sedative heading for the front line areas, it is going to be a tough affair for rest of the teammates obviously to get close to what but they have the objective set. And in all these areas of Gatka, we have 3 teams in the closer vicinity. It's going to be Eccentric, it's Infinity with low-key angle that he has held for the moment. It is going to be Martyrs 1971 again in the area of Pochinki, and this is going to be one daunting task for TT Archangels to make a rotation out of the circle. And talking about the rotation, it is going to be the one big team that is holding that pink marker from the left hand side. That is going to be Oxygen Rising Star, that can also dent them while they go for the rotation. Already they are down to 2 men. That means their player are not looking good. With Martyrs, one player also going down, this is certainly not looking good for them. But all of a sudden TRZ's Atomic has been completely finished, and it seems that the team was actually spotted down and their rotation has been hunkered down.
What a play being created from the side of Archangels indeed, as they brought down a lot of misery to the players of TRZ as they made that rotation into the vicinity of this team, and in doing so have been able to confirm 3 points to themselves. Just the 2-man army of an Archangels are looking pretty mindful of their surroundings and of course are trying to retaliate. But now, as we can see in the minimap, it is going to be the side of TRZ Esports who are probably going to be coming in strong and trying to retaliate against the kill that was just confirmed from the side of Archangels. But what sort of a push is going to be made? Is it going to be Archangels that will try and get into the area, or will it be TRZ who are going to try and retaliate against that positioning? We are going to have to wait and see. On the other front, of course, is going to be the players of Martyrs 1971 who are going to be absolutely quiet, remaining in that same compound where they do hear a lot of fights are being erupted. But along with all of this, the zone is going to move away, and once again PXC Esports find themselves in the center of the zone. Indeed, what a play this is turning out to be. And on to the southern edges, it is going to be Fallen 5 that is being absolutely raced across furiously against the players of Oxygen Esports, Oxygen Rising Star, and this has turned into, of course, quite a chaotic play because Fallen 5 has just lost their players as well, and it's just Pain Noob who's going to try and all alone try and remain as strong as he possibly can, try and remain alive as long as he possibly can to get those placement points for the team.
Indeed, it is going to be a tough challenge for him, as now he is finding himself in a closer vicinity where obviously 3 to 4 teams are present there, and in doing so he is being eliminated from this lobby, and a sad affair for himself as now Pain Noob has been thrown away from this match. As now it is going to be a long task for Oxygen Rising Star to make a move into the zone. It is obviously going to be Bad Intentions that will be acting as a big roadblock, as a big impediment. If we just talk about that, with the Zap Canavar also in the same vicinity, Gatka is where they are positioned, but the circle is being held by them. They are holding the edge of the circle, with obviously T-Rex Power getting a lot of shots from the sides of obviously T-Rex Skeleton. It is an important match for T-Rex Skeleton. They have found themselves in a position where they now can play and just aggress towards them with all the 4 players alive. Some players have been knocked off, some players have been getting a lot of leads being peppered onto them, but since they are being hounded by all these players from different directions, they need to come out of that, and in doing so it is going to be Rising Star that is again rising, and they are making it difficult for Fardeen to survive from different directions. It is going to be Confused. This time Confused is pretty much having his intention set, and he knows what he is doing, and he made sure that he will be taking care of the last player from the sides surviving, and that means one team more exists to the lobby. And with that, Martyrs 1971 finding themselves in the safe haven of this compound from the southern side of the Pochinki. This is one big compound that can actually help them, but the circle shift, if that goes away from that side, then the strategy comes up how you find yourself away from these circles and from these compounds. But for the moment, Shadow has gotten a lot of shots from the sides of FOF BadBlood, and Ragnar is on a counter fire at this moment.
Well, what a play this is turning out to be, what a game this is turning out to be. 18 minutes in, we still do have, of course, Martyrs 1971 players still alive and surviving as they push on to get again into the edge of the zone itself, looking absolutely fine for now, no problem whatsoever at all. But TRZ Mamba are creating ruckus against the players of course, TREX Skeleton, and in doing so, TRZ is the 3-man army, but they are still not going to be remaining dormant. They are certainly going to be moving on aggressively to take on those fights perfectly face to face, and in doing so they have been able to eliminate that one player from the side of TREX. And in that conversation, it is now a 3v3 affair that this team finds themselves in. And again, when it comes down to TREX Skeleton, this team is just going to be focusing on the nade parade that they can bring in, and it is working wonders because TRZ's players are getting knocked, and if that one more STFE bots' nade is dropped on from the exact same spot, it could very well be the demise for TRZ Rare. For now, it is looking like a perfect fight that was seemingly going in favor of TRZ has now backfired.
They are retaliating in fashion. They are retaliating in fashion, and they need all these kills. The knock was there, but the kill confirmation is still not there. And some consecutive grenades and Molotovs being used just to rush on the players, and he is using it to perfection. Last one really bring that effectiveness, but this time it seems that the player are now pretty much away from these situations. But the question still remains: the circle has formed in the open. I mean, they are holding the circle, but it is in a complete ditch, and that ditch can fall themselves in a trap. And as we got to see that now, TRZ's Mad Cat is certainly taking the fight in some different direction, but now being spotted out by Hitman from the sides of TREX. This is looking bleak for the sides of TRZ. All I wanted them is to be congregated at the same position, rather not to take 3 different fight in 3 different directions, because you are already down on your players.
Absolutely, and that is not working in this team's favor. Martyrs 1971 being sent back in the lobby, the 2-man army that was trying to remain surviving for quite a long time. It is thanks to, of course, Eccentric, who have played their cards right. Eventually, again, bringing the conversation back to the players of TREX Skeleton. This team is looking pretty much phenomenal, because they were, for a few minutes ago, taking on a lot of brunt against the players of TREX, but eventually still remain a 3-man army and are looking absolutely in comfort. But eventually, when it comes to TRZ itself, they are being pushed against the players of TREX Power, and TREX Power are so very much in control. This is going to be Mamba, the only final lad who is going to have that nade parade against the players of this team. But will that be enough? Because TREX Power is bringing in the same sort of an onslaught, and in doing so, it is going to be Mamba who will try and retaliate. Wow. But what a spray and push that was made from the side of course, Shementor from TP, and has resulted in TRZ getting eliminated. A perfect turn of events indeed, where Shementor nade parade is also what showcased a perfect drop from TRZ's player, thus remaining only Mamba. But not for long, because that team is now gone, remaining only 9 teams in the lobby, where it is Final Cut's player taking on FOF. Perfect turn of events, just perfect domination being showcased from the side of Final Cut, and FOF BadBlood not looking too good in that.
Exactly, the last player surviving Divider is still there, but in the moment we were talking about, it was Zap Canover that was being completely pincered down thanks to that onslaught that is coming from the side of Eccentric Infinity, and thus resulting in 4 kills that they have been able to secure. But on to the other tangent, it is going to be a tough affair from the side of Final Cut Esports, as now they are holding the edge of the circle. But once the circle shifts away from them, that is going to be a tough challenge, as now they are finding themselves in some sort of fortified areas. But these fortified areas allows a lot of openings, and that can be an opening where they can get the knock. But for the moment, it is going to be Zap Canover that has been completely annihilated, and in Eccentric Infinity, time and again the players have been chiming their names and featuring their names in the kill feed, and they have completely decimated one big squad. But in doing so, we are heading towards the 22 minutes of the circle. We are still left with 22 players, and 8 teams are still alive, and in that it is going to be all 4 players alive from the sides of Eccentric Infinity. And also it is going to be a tough task for obviously TREX Skeleton to find themselves in all these positions. In doing so, it is going to be northern side that has been completely being utilized by PX Esports. Look at the split that we are talking about. All 4 players alive, 4 different directions. It is going to be a tough task for any team to survive in the same proximity.
Absolutely, but talk about FOF BadBlood right there, being so very cheeky into the compound of course, that team, just absolutely not giving away any information whatsoever at all, remaining there, surviving as long as he possibly can to work towards getting the placement point. But Final Cut was the team that was bringing in the onslaught to the players of FOF BadBlood, and this is perhaps the compound that FOF BadBlood held. But of course, Final Cut got the better half of that fight, but not for long. It seems like this is when the rotation is going to be made from their side, and they're going to be leaving this final player of FOF BadBlood, Divider, all to himself. And what a play this has turned out to be. He can very well come back stronger and retaliate against the positioning of FC, but will that be the case or not? Because Eccentric on the other tangent, talk about the center of the zone, it is being dominated by this team. 7 kills to this team, correction, 8 kills to this team, and with that it is annihilation that Eccentric is bringing in this game for themselves.
He is using that I button. He is using that I button. He knows every sort of thing. He has every sort of information, and now realizing the situation, I mean, what a brilliant gameplay. You talk about sound cues not giving away. He is the epitome of it, and not only that, he has no other skills whatsoever, but still passive enough, still quiet enough just to get all those placements. But now it is going to be a tough task, as now Shimonter tried to make a push with the help of those smokes, but it is going to be TREX Skeleton. They know what sort of things are on the stake. The grenade came in, but the players are still well enough prepared to take the players down. Shimonter goes down thanks to that onslaught that's coming in from side of PU Dot, but still it is going to be 3 players surviving on to different tangent. It is now PX Esports that are now trying to take the fight, but in doing so, it is going to be Final Cut Esports that are also trying to take the fight in its own way, with Hitman pretty much close to where STFU bot is dead. At any point, at any moment, Hitman can go down.
He certainly can, because the smoke has dissipated and now it's only a matter of time before STFU is able to spot him. But this is the second time that we are looking at in this day itself. TREX take on another TREX, and in that doing so, it is going to be TREX power, two-man squad that is going to be trying to jump in, but eventually will not be allowed because Rock Up has been down and now only Hitman survives. Hitman is going to try and get that flag, but of course roaming on around, running on around, going to give that much of audio cue. You will not be allowed to survive for long, and in that, it is a conversation for TREX Skeleton that has worked in the favor. But this is not the way. It is Eccentric from the center of the zone trying to chime in along in towards the kill department and will be taking another player of course, TREX Skeleton down. As of now, he certainly can be revived as the kill has not been confirmed from the side of Eccentric, but PX Esports are also part of this fight where they've been able to get 3 kills for themselves, but now they are bringing in some annihilation for the side of Final Card.
PX Esports from the northern side, 4 kill is already on the name, and now they are taking down to take the fight against TREX Skeleton, where now one player still surviving, and all of a sudden PX Esports have created a lot of ruckus, and especially one team that has been dented to its most way, that is going to be of TREX Skeleton, and this is not one good thing, but still one player is still left, and he can get all these placement points. We talk about the 10, 15 and 12. The kill number is already there. They just eliminated one complete squad, and now they are looking to take up the fight, but now in doing so, it is going to be trenches, those sewer areas of which Eccentric Infinity is having the control. Loki has been obviously deployed from the backhand side, just to take care of the backhand side of the players, and now the utilities will be used to its perfection as PX Esports Chiku is pretty much close to where Eccentric Infinity is there, and it seems that his location is just anonymous, but since there is a thick smoke cloud, there might be a chance where we might get to see some smoke. Some utilities might be peppered down and hurled down on the same position, but in doing so, it is going to be a tough task for Eccentric Infinity to survive the situation, and with that, it is going to be Final Cut Esports that is now slowly and steadily taking down the players of PX Esports. Heaven goes down, all of a sudden, the tide can change.
It certainly can, because the zone has shifted on along as well. Eccentric were looking absolutely perfectly in control of the zone as well, but now the zone has moved away, and it is going to be PX Esports' conversation to be had where they have the zone, but what sort of a play are they going to be trying to bring in for themselves? Of course, when it comes down to Eccentric, they have almost 40 meters to cover, but in that conversation for themselves, it is not going to be an easy task, because as soon as they get out of these trenches, it is going to be Final Cut as well as, of course, PX Esports, who are going to be well equipped and prepped and ready for this team to showcase their face. And as soon as they do so, as soon as they pop their heads across this area, it is not going to be an easy conversation for them against the players of PX Esports. This is just turning into quite a crazy fight, because it is just that one final player from the side of Final Card that is going to be confused, bringing in those nade parades against the players of Eccentric. Has already brought down Loki, and PX Esports in that moment also has pushed on along into this perfect gameplay from PX Esports, where 6 kills have been confirmed, but now they want more.
Pewdot is still there, but one grenade does the business for side of Confused, and with that being said, domination mode is where Confused stand at this moment, but with that being said, he is down to the elimination. One player is still surviving, Brotter. You remember Pewdot surviving that onslaught, but he is surviving at least. That means he will be taking at least 10 kills from that side, and he is the man of the moment. And also one player from the sides of TTR changes, and that is going to be of the Stranger, but in doing so, it is going to be Showman that will be taken care of, and then doing so, it is going to be Showman that is spotted down. Stranger needs to take him down. He has taken him down, but in this situation, it is going to be an easy task for PX Esports. But before that, it is going to be McLaren that will charge it. Before he goes down, he tried to take them down, but no, it is not going to be the case, as the last game eventually will be going into the favor of PX Esports. But what a valiant effort coming in from the sides of the last guy, from the sides of obviously TT Archangels, taking no hits away from PX Esports. 11 kill, 2007 damage, #4 position. They were finished the journey for the semi-finals, but that valiant effort, especially from the last guy, from both the teams. Talk about TT Archangels, talk about the Rex Skeleton. I mean, it all comes down to what sort of kill they have secured, because one team got the 10th position placement points, one team got the 12. It's just the kill points that will be segregating and making the final timeline.
Absolutely will, and what a play for PX Esports indeed, as they walk away with this perfect game, the final game of the semi-finals, and it is looking real good, real good when it comes down to all the games that were played today. Every single game had a different storyline to work towards, and this time around, of course, it was which teams are going to be the ones that will move on into the top 11. We will be confirming and coming back to that conversation, but right now it is time to look at the MVP, the most valuable player coming in from this game, where indeed the team that got that is going to be the one that got chicken dinner.
Showman. he is the man of the moment. He is the man of the moment. And we saw that this player was just analyzing at the start of the gameplay. He was making a move in the center line and towards the last area of the circle itself. He was the man to go for this moment. 5 kill, 773 damage, 25 minutes of survival time with 29 seconds added to it, 1 assist and just the 173 healing. Then along with that, it is also gonna be confused. You remember the way he was just using the grenades to his perfection to against the players of Eccentric Infinity. It was really a deathbed, and that trench really became the deathbed for the complete squad of Eccentric Infinity. But still, Eccentric Infinity, the players were looking strong, and just because of that, Terror find himself with 5 kills, 707 damage. Loki is also one player that has been in a consistent and in a sublime form.
Absolutely, what a play this has been for these teams. PX Esports finally bringing in that dominating streak once again for themselves on the final day of the semis itself in this PMCO of Bangladesh region. With that, we move on to the match summary, where it is Oxygen Rising Stars Khan with most utilities used as well as the maximum assist, but the highest skill is of course going to Showman, along with of course Final Cut timing it along as well. As we move on to the match rankings, this is where 11 kills and the chicken dinner is what PX Esports were able to walk out with. Eccentric Infinity had 9 kills along with 6 placement points, so 15 points to them. Same is the conversation for Archangels, as they got just the 3 kills but 15 points. So amazing play for that side of T4 Archangels.
Exactly. I mean, as perfectly mentioned, both the teams really made play to perfection. And then we got to see Zap Canavar. That was also a team that was really looking strong, but just got the better half. But because it was Eccentric Infinity that was really bamboozling them, and Fallen 5 Esports did falter down in the very early stage of the game. And with that being said, we are moving towards the Oppo F19 Pro movements, where really got some breathtaking moments throughout the course of this match. Right off the go, we got to see those early fights erupting, where it was Martyrs 1971 taking the better half of the players from the sides of TT Archangels, and then it was Oxygen Rising Stars taking care of TT Archangels. And at this point, it seemed that the future was looking bleak for them, but kudos to the last guy standing that made it look so easy for them in terms of the placement points.
Absolutely, and this is when things went on to a different role altogether, where TRZ Esports were the ones who were at the receiving end, and same of course was the case for Bad Intentions as well. As the game progressed on, it was of course Eccentric that were looking really good till the time the zone went away from them, and this is when Final Cut had the final say, because that player has had so much of onslaught from the side of Eccentric that eventually the nade parade helped PX to move on along against Eccentric's position and just bring them down. And this is when it was of course Archangel Stranger who was able to bring down 2 players, but then the final 2 players of PX Esports, as they pushed, he was of course nowhere in the picture.
Brought obviously the second last player to 40 HP. I mean, just the 1 player more from the sides, or maybe 1 player less from the sides of PX Esports, things could have really turned out for themselves. But for the moment, it is Bad Intentions topping the table with 188 points. Expected them to get to the double century marker, but it seemed that was just, I was more asking for their side. But kill is where they have been dominating. I mean, look at this, 12 matches, 97 kills. 8 kills per match, close to 8 kills per match is what the average suggests for themselves. But then it was also a brilliant performance from the sides of TRZ Esports with 156 points. But then it is the top 11 where TT Archangels have made it, and also TREX Skeleton with 108, 107, and thus leaving Phantom 4 UI out of it, thus leaving Martyrs Epsilon leaving out of it, and thus leaving Exitron Red Army. We talked about that threshold of 96 that has been certainly increased to 107.
Wow. I guess it is the day of teas, mate. They have done it. They have done it. We've got the top 11 teams. These are the teams that will be, of course, moving on across to the finals. Of course, the other teams that participated did showcase some perfect plays. I mean, from Eccentric Infinity to Black Diamond to Martyrs 1971 to Team IR in certain sense of the word, because they, by the end of the tournament, had started performing pretty neat for themselves. Of course, the journey continues on. We hopefully will be seeing these teams again in a different tournament altogether, but for now these teams we're gonna have to bid adieu to, because the top 11 have been selected, have been confirmed, and those are the ones that will push on into the finals, along with of course the invited teams that are going to be the teams that have been invited: Venom Legends, A1 Esports, XB Legion, INES, and Black Bulls. And in all, when it comes to the finals, of course, it's not only the prize pool that's at stake, it is also a slot to PMPL Season 4. But one more thing to actually bring up when it comes down to these teams that are from the 11th and lower, well, they are also going to be part of the prize pool. They are, of course, going to be part of
$300
with the $300 that will be, of course, given and shared with them. But what a play. What an incredible day it has been.
Indeed, it is going to be. And leading the kill leader chart, this is somewhere down the line we need to actually realize Naruto has been the man in the form. I mean, the first 2 days was certainly nowhere Naruto tried to decimate, but when the guy really played the game of Miramar, you remember the 11 kill video perfectly mentioned it, and the damage certainly overpowering each and everyone else. 38 kill is where he finishes things off with 6,932 damage, and somewhere down the line it was also Mamba with somewhere of 4,000 damage. But what a game from all these teammates altogether for today itself.
Absolutely. With that, like we just said, the top 11 teams have been confirmed, and now with the semi-finals taken care of, we are going to be rooting for the finals. And in that, as I just mentioned, 5 teams have been invited, and those teams are also really aggressive ones, from A1 Esports to Venom Legends to XB Legion to INES. I mean, it is going to be an action-packed performance during the finals itself. But for the day, we do reach the end. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Thanks to, of course, Oppo and F19 Pro for making this all happen. And with that, we are going to go for the moment. We'll be back again next week to go through the finals, and that is when that final team will be selected, who will be the winners of PMCO. Take care. Bye-bye.
Here we go now. 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 Here we go now.